Janos 1. 55 AC. Moat Cailin. Janos Skol Pav. The late afternoon sun, a pale disk in the northern sky, slanted through the tall, narrow windows of my solar in Moat Cailin, casting long shadows across the heavy oak desk. A stack of ledgers lay open before me, their pages filled with the meticulous script of stewards and merchants, detailing the flow of goods and coin through the neck and into the north. My brow was furrowed in concentration as I traced a particularly complex trade route, ensuring the numbers aligned and the accounts were true. As Lord of Moat Cailin, the gateway to the north, such matters were of paramount importance. A sharp rap at the door broke the quiet rhythm of my work. I looked up, my gaze momentarily losing focus on the intricate columns of figures. "Come in," I called out, my voice perhaps a touch gruffer than intended. My mind was still wrestling with the intricacies of tariffs and tolls. The door creaked open, and Maester Gilbar entered, his demeanor as somber as the grey stone walls of Moat Cailin. He approached my desk, his eyes downcast, and presented a sealed letter. I took it from him, my fingers brushing against the smooth parchment. The seal bore the unmistakable sigil of House Stark, a grey direwolf rampant on a white field. My brother's hand. I broke the seal and unfolded the letter, my gaze scanning the familiar script. As I read, a mixture of emotions stirred within me, anticipation, a touch of pride, and a hint of the old Stark stoicism. "Thank you, Maester Gilbar," I said, my voice low but firm, as I finished reading. "That will be all." The Maester bowed his head and retreated, his sandaled feet silent on the stone floor. I turned to the guard standing outside the open doorway. "Fetch my wife," I instructed, my tone brooking no argument. "And then send for my sons. I have news to share." A half hour passed, the setting sun casting long shadows through the narrow windows of my solar. I paced restlessly, the weight of the news heavy on my mind. The implications of my brother's letter were significant, and I wanted to share them with my family immediately. A knock sounded at the door, and I turned, my hand resting on the back of a high-backed chair. "Enter," I called out, my voice slightly louder than usual. The door swung open, and Lena stepped into the room, her expression a mixture of concern and curiosity. Behind her stood my sons, Torrhen and Alaric. Torrhen, the elder, was already a young man, his features hardening with the responsibilities of a future lord. Alaric, still a few years younger, possessed a more eager, almost restless energy. They both looked to me, their eyes questioning. I held up the letter, the Stark direwolf emblazoned on the parchment. "This is from Theon," I said, my voice low and steady. I crossed the room and offered it to Lena. "Read it." Lena took the letter, her brow furrowed slightly as she scanned the contents. A slow smile spread across her face as she finished reading. She looked up at me, her eyes gleaming. "So," she said, her voice filled with a quiet satisfaction, "the college is complete, X." I confirmed, my voice a low rumble. I turned to my sons, Torrhen and Alaric, who had been listening intently. "Next year," I said, my gaze sweeping over them, "you will both travel to Winterfell. You will enter the college, not just to learn, but also to forge bonds with your peers. These will be the future lords and ladies of the North, the future leaders of our people. The relationships you build there will be crucial in the years to come." Lena stepped forward, her expression softening as she looked at Torrhen and Alaric. "Your father speaks truly," she said, her voice filled with a quiet strength. "This college represents a new era for the North, a chance to unite our houses and strengthen our bonds in ways we have not seen before. It is an opportunity for you to learn not only from the finest scholars in Westeros but also from each other." She placed a hand on Torrhen's shoulder, her gaze meeting his. "Torrhen, as the future Lord of Moat Cailin, the connections you make at this college will be vital. You will be responsible for the defense of the neck, for ensuring the safety of all who pass through our lands. The alliances you forge, the friendships you cultivate, will be as important as any skill with a sword." She then turned to Alaric, her eyes filled with a warm affection. "And you, Alaric, though your path may lead you in a different direction, the knowledge and the relationships you gain at the college will serve you well. You will be a representative of our house, a voice for the North. Make us proud, my sons. Make us proud." I echoed, my voice firm. "Make us proud." I turned back to my sons, my gaze shifting between Torrhen and Alaric. "And how is your training progressing?" I asked, my voice laced with a hint of paternal pride. "Are you both diligent in your sword practice? Have you mastered the breathing techniques I taught you? The North demands strength, and Moat Cailin, more than any other place, must be defended with vigilance and skill." Torrhen, ever the more serious of the two, stepped forward first. "My sword training is progressing well, father," he said, his voice steady and respectful. I practice daily with the master at arms, and I have been focusing on improving my footwork and my parrying technique. I also practice the breathing exercises you taught us, though I admit, they require constant discipline. Alaric, his younger brother, spoke with a bit more enthusiasm. I am also training hard, father, he chimed in. I am quicker than Torrhen, but he is stronger. We often spar together, and he usually wins, but I am learning. The breathing techniques help, especially when I am tired. They allow me to focus and regain my strength. Torrhen added, we understand the importance of being skilled warriors, father. Moat Cailin stands at the gateway to the north, and we are its shield. We will be ready to defend it, and the north, when the time comes. I replied, a grim satisfaction in my voice. Make sure the enemies of the north are buried deep within the bogs and swamps. There will be an opening celebration for the college in the first moon of next year, I announced, my voice firm. We will be attending, of course, as representatives of Moat Cailin and House Skull. We must be prepared. With that, Lena, Torrhen, and Alaric followed me out of the solar, leaving the ledgers and the weight of responsibility behind, for midday meal. The midday meal in the Great Hall of Moat Cailin was a somewhat subdued affair. The weight of the upcoming journey to Winterfell, the implications of the new college, and the ever-present responsibility of guarding the neck hung heavy in the air. Lena and I discussed the preparations. Torrhen and Alaric, though eager for the journey, maintained a respectful seriousness. As the meal concluded, a steward approached me, his face etched with a mixture of deference and concern. My lord, he began, his voice low, there are several petitioners waiting to speak with you. Small folk and merchants, mostly. They seek your judgment and your aid. I sighed, the brief respite from matters of state already coming to an end. Very well, I said. Bring them in, one at a time. I will hear their pleas. The first petitioner was a smallholder, his clothes those of a normal farmer, his face weathered by the harsh conditions of the neck. He spoke of a dispute with a neighboring farmer over a boundary line, a matter that threatened to escalate into violence. I listened patiently, asking questions, seeking to understand the root of the conflict. The next petitioner was a merchant, his fine clothes and worried demeanor a stark contrast to the smallholder. He complained of bandits preying on his caravans, disrupting trade, and endangering his men. He sought protection and redress for his losses. I listened to each plea, each grievance, each request for justice. The burdens of lordship were many, and the needs of my people were constant. I made careful notes, promising to investigate each matter thoroughly and to deliver a fair and just ruling. The petitions continued for some time, each one a reminder of the complexities of governing the neck. There were disputes over land and water rights, complaints of unfair taxes, and pleas for assistance in the face of hardship. I listened patiently, offering words of comfort, promising to look into each situation. Finally, the last petitioner departed, leaving me weary but resolute. Lena, who had remained by my side throughout, placed a comforting hand on my arm. You carry the weight of the north on your shoulders, Janos, she said, her voice filled with a quiet admiration. It is the burden of our house, I replied, my gaze distant. Moat Cailin stands at the crossroads, the gateway to the north. We must be strong, we must be just, and we must be vigilant. With the petitions concluded, I felt the need to clear my head, to shake off the weight of responsibility, if only for a time. I am going to the training yard, I announced. I need to clear my head. Lena nodded, understanding my need for physical exertion. Be careful, she said. And try not to break too many bones. I smiled, a rare and fleeting expression. I will try my best, I replied. I made my way to the training yard, the sounds of clanging steel and grunts of exertion filling the air. The yard was a large, open space, surrounded by the gray stone walls of Moat Cailin. Several guards were engaged in sparring matches, their movements a mix of skill and brute force. I approached the master at arms, a grizzled veteran with a scarred face and a no-nonsense demeanor. I would like a bout, I said, my voice firm. With our best man. The master at arms nodded, his eyes assessing me. As you wish, my lord, he replied. Brynden, you will face Lord Skull. A tall, muscular guard stepped forward, his expression respectful but determined. He bowed slightly, then took his position, drawing his sword. I drew my own, the familiar weight of the steel grounding me. The sparring match began, a clash of steel and skill. Brynden was a skilled swordsman, strong and agile. But I was the lord of Moat Cailin, a Stark of the north, and I would not be easily bested. We traded blows, the ringing of steel echoing through the yard. I parried his attacks, seeking an opening, testing his defenses. He pressed forward, his movements relentless, his strength formidable. The match was intense, a battle of wills as much as a battle of skill. I focused my breathing, channeling my energy, seeking the flow of the fight. I moved with a controlled grace, anticipating his moves, seeking to exploit any weakness. Finally, after a long and grueling exchange, I saw an opening. I feinted high, then struck low, my blade finding its mark. Brynden yielded, his breath coming in ragged gasps. I lowered my sword, a sense of satisfaction washing over me. The exertion had cleared my head, the weight of responsibility momentarily lifted. I had proven myself, not just as a lord, but as a warrior. Well fought, Brynden, I said, my voice respectful. You are a skilled swordsman. Brynden nodded, his expression weary but respectful. My lord, he replied. You are a formidable opponent. I spent some time in the yard, watching the other guards train, offering advice and encouragement. It was a reminder of the strength and skill that defended Moat Cailin, the bulwark of the north. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the yard, I felt my strength returning. I had cleared my head, reaffirmed my skills, and found a measure of peace in the midst of the day's burdens. I returned to the solar, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. The journey to Winterfell, the opening of the college, and the future of the north. I would be ready. I was the lord of Moat Cailin, and I would not falter. 7 comments 0 vote. Brandon. 5-6 AC. Winterfell. The great hall of Winterfell pulsed with an unusual vitality. Banners of northern houses, Stark, Manderly, Bolton, Mormont, and more, adorned the rafters. The air crackled with anticipation as the lords and ladies of the north gathered. I, Brandon Stark, Lord of Winterfell, surveyed them, each representing a unique part of our land. Lord Wyman Manderly's laughter boomed, Lord Rogar Bolton stood with a calculating air, and Lord Theon Mormont spoke intently with Lord Rickard Karstark. Beside me stood my son, Theon, the driving force behind this assembly and the architect of the College of Winterhold. He had unveiled his remarkable inventions and his vision for a north transformed by knowledge. Now, the culmination of his efforts was at hand. The college was ready to open, and the north stood on the cusp of a new era. The weight of this moment was significant, filled with both promise and potential challenges. Yet, I stood tall, a cautious optimism in my heart, my gaze fixed on the future. I stepped forward, my voice resonating through the vast hall, silencing the murmur of conversation. All eyes turned to me, the assembled lords and ladies of the north, their faces a mixture of anticipation and solemnity. My lords and ladies, I began, my gaze sweeping over the gathering, I thank you all for coming. You have traveled far, from every corner of our vast and beautiful land, to be here today. Your presence honors this occasion, and it speaks to the unity and strength of the north. Tomorrow, I continued, my voice gaining strength, we will gather again, not in this hall of feasting and ceremony, but at the College of Winterhold itself. We will walk its halls, explore its libraries, and witness the fruits of years of labor and dedication. Lord Wyman Manderly, his eyes gleaming with anticipation, nodded his massive head, a low rumble of approval emanating from his chest. This college, as many of you know, is the vision of my son, Theon. He has poured his heart and soul into this endeavor, believing that the North can be more than just a land of warriors and survivors. He believes, and I have come to believe, that knowledge is a weapon as potent as any sword, and that by fostering learning and innovation, we can forge a brighter future for our people. Lord Rogar Bolton, however, remained impassive, his gaze sharp and assessing, betraying little of his thoughts. Theon has shown you some of the wonders that knowledge can unlock, I said, gesturing towards the far end of the hall, where a model of the steam engine and a small-scale replica of the cannon were displayed. These are but glimpses of what is possible when we dare to question, to explore, and to create. Lord Theomore Mormont, his brow furrowed in thought, leaned forward, his gaze fixed on the miniature cannon, perhaps contemplating its implications for the defense of the wall. This is not just a Stark endeavor, I stressed. It is a northern endeavor. It is a testament to what we can achieve when we work together, when we embrace innovation, and when we dare to dream of a better future. Lord Joer Umber, his massive frame still, offered a slow, deliberate nod of agreement. I urge you, my lords and ladies, I said, my voice filled with a quiet passion, to approach tomorrow with open minds and open hearts. See the college for what it is. A beacon of hope, a symbol of progress, and a testament to the enduring strength and resilience of the North. The morning after my speech, the great hall of Winterfell was filled with a sense of purpose. After breaking their fast, the lords and ladies of the North, accompanied by their retinues, began to assemble, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and anticipation. Theon and I led the procession, a diverse group of northern power, towards the newly completed College of Winterhold. The crisp morning air carried the scent of pine and freshly turned earth, a testament to the tireless efforts that had brought the College of Winterhold to fruition. As we walked, the imposing silhouette of the college loomed larger on the horizon, its stone walls gleaming in the morning light. Lord Wyman Manderley, his booming voice echoing across the open space, turned to me, his face split by a wide grin. By the gods, Stark, he bellowed, your son has built a fortress of knowledge. It rivals even the citadel in Aldtown, though I dare say it smells less of southern spices. I chuckled, a rare sound for me. Aye, Lord Manderley, I replied. And a remarkable talent for bringing that vision to life. He has poured his very being into this endeavor. Lord Rogar Bolton, walking a few paces behind, approached us, his pale eyes fixed on the college. It is impressive, he conceded, his tone grudging. Though I still harbor reservations about diverting too many resources from more practical matters. I met his gaze, my own hardening slightly. Knowledge is a practical matter, Lord Bolton, I said, my voice firm. It is the foundation upon which we will build a stronger, more resilient North. As we drew closer to the college, the sounds of activity grew louder. Scholars in their robes hurried between buildings, students carried stacks of scrolls, and the rhythmic clang of hammers echoed from the workshops. The air thrummed with a sense of purpose and energy. Theon, walking beside me, pointed out various features of the college. This, father, he said, gesturing towards a cluster of buildings with large, glass-paneled walls, is the Glass Gardens. Here, we will cultivate a variety of plants for medicinal purposes and for the study of botany. Lady Lisa Ricewell, her eyes wide with curiosity, approached the gardens. It's remarkable, Lord Stark, she said, her voice filled with a genuine wonder. I've never seen anything like it in the north. Theon has incorporated knowledge from across Westeros and beyond, I explained. He believes in drawing upon all available knowledge to benefit our people. We continued our tour, visiting the library, a vast repository of scrolls and books gathered from across the known world. Lord Theomore Mormont, his brow furrowed in concentration, ran his hand along the spines of ancient tomes. The knowledge contained within these walls, he muttered, his voice filled with a quiet awe, could change the course of history. Theon then led us to the workshops, where students were learning practical skills such as carpentry, metalworking, and engineering. Lord Haley's Hornwood, his eyes gleaming with approval, watched a group of students construct a complex piece of machinery. These skills will be invaluable to our people, he said. A North that can build and innovate is a North that can thrive. The tour continued throughout the morning, and with each new discovery, the lords and ladies of the North became more impressed by the College of Winterhold. They saw the potential for progress, for innovation, and for a brighter future for their land. The scale of the undertaking was truly breathtaking. Theon had not simply built a collection of buildings, he had created a self-sustaining community dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. There were dormitories for students and scholars, a grand dining hall, a fully equipped infirmary, and even an astronomical observatory perched atop the highest tower, its dome gleaming in the morning sun. As we moved from one facility to the next, the initial apprehension that had lingered in the air began to dissipate. The lords and ladies of the North saw not just the cost of this endeavor, but the potential return on their investment. They saw the faces of the students, bright with curiosity and eager to learn. They saw the dedication of the scholars, their eyes shining with the passion for discovery. Lord Wyman Manderley, ever the pragmatist, peppered Theon with questions about the economic implications of the college. How will this benefit our trade, Stark? He boomed. Will it lead to new inventions, new products that we can sell to the south? Will it attract merchants from distant lands to our shores? Theon answered him patiently, explaining how the college would foster innovation and create a skilled workforce capable of driving economic growth. He spoke of the potential for new technologies, new industries, and new trade routes that would bring wealth and prosperity to the north. Lord Rogar Bolton, though still guarded, seemed intrigued by the college's potential for military advancement. He questioned Theon about the applications of the steam engine and the cannon, his pale eyes gleaming with a hint of dark fascination. These are powerful tools, Stark, he conceded, his voice low and dangerous. They could give us a significant advantage in warfare. But they must be handled with care, lest they turn against us. Lady Lisa Ricewell, her initial wonder giving way to a more practical consideration, focused on the college's potential to improve the lives of her people. She asked about the medical knowledge that would be taught at the infirmary, and the agricultural techniques that would be developed in the Glass Gardens. If this college can help us heal our sick and feed our hungry, she said, her voice filled with a quiet determination, then it will be worth every penny. Lord Theomore Mormont, his thoughts still focused on the defense of the wall, inquired about the possibility of using the college's resources to develop new weapons and strategies to combat the threats from beyond. The darkness is always encroaching, he growled, his voice heavy with concern. We must be prepared to meet it with every weapon at our disposal, both steel and knowledge. As the tour drew to a close, we gathered in the college's grand hall, a vast space with soaring ceilings and intricate carvings. Theon stood before the assembled lords and ladies, his face filled with a quiet pride and a fervent hope. My lords and ladies, he said, his voice ringing with conviction, what you have seen today is just the beginning. The College of Winterhold is not a finished product, but a living, breathing entity, constantly evolving and growing. It is a place where knowledge is pursued for its own sake, but also for the betterment of the North. It is a place where the sons and daughters of our noble houses will learn alongside the most talented among our small folk, forging bonds of camaraderie and shared purpose. It is a place where the future of the North will be shaped, not by the whims of fate, but by the power of knowledge and the strength of our collective will. I believe, Theon continued, his voice filled with a passionate earnestness, that this college has the potential to transform the North into a land of prosperity, strength, and enlightenment. A land where knowledge is valued above all else, where innovation is celebrated, and where the people are empowered to shape their own destiny. But this vision, he stressed, his gaze sweeping over the assembled lords and ladies, cannot be realized by me alone. It requires the support, the commitment, and the unwavering belief of every single one of you. It requires us to work together, to put aside our differences, and to embrace the future with courage and determination. Theon's words hung in the air, a challenge and an invitation. The lords and ladies of the North, their hearts stirred by what they had seen and heard, knew that they stood at a crossroads. The future of the North was in their hands, and the College of Winterhold was the key that could unlock its full potential. 3 comments 0 vote. Cailin. 5-7 AC. Winterfell. The ancient stones of Winterfell echoed with the quiet rhythm of my footsteps as I wandered through its familiar halls. My mind, however, was far from the present, lost in the swirling eddies of memory and anticipation. My heart ached with a familiar longing, a longing for family. My granddaughter, Morgan, and my grandsons, Arthur, Haryon, Eddard, William, Torrhen, and Alaric. Their faces flickered in my mind's eye, each distinct, each precious. The chill of the North seeped into my bones as I continued my wanderings. I passed a group of maids, their faces flushed with work, carrying baskets of freshly laundered linens. Good day, ladies, I offered, my voice a low rumble. Good day, Lady Stark, they replied, their voices a chorus of respect. A small smile touched my lips. Even in my advanced years, the traditions of Winterfell held firm. Further on, I encountered a pair of guards, their hands resting on the hilts of their swords, their eyes scanning the corridors with practiced vigilance. Anything to report? I inquired. All is quiet, Lady Cailin, one of them responded, his voice deep and resonant. The lords and ladies are still abuzz with the wonders of the college. I murmured, my thoughts drifting back to my family. Wonders indeed. My steps led me to the solar of my good daughter, Diana. She was seated at a large oak table, poring over a stack of parchments, her brow furrowed in concentration. The fire crackled merrily in the hearth, casting a warm glow on her face. Diana, I said, my voice soft. She looked up, her expression softening as she saw me. Mother, she greeted me, rising to her feet. Is everything all right? Everything is as well as can be, I replied, my gaze fixed on her. But my heart yearns for family. I have been thinking of Morgan, Arthur, Haryon, Eddard, William, Torrhen, and Alaric. They are at the college now, are they not? Diana nodded, her eyes filled with a gentle understanding. They are. They are eager to learn, and they are thriving in this new environment. I know, I said, my voice firm. I wish to see them. I wish to see my granddaughter and my grandsons with my own eyes. I wish to visit college. Diana's expression became thoughtful. It is a long journey, mother, she cautioned. And you are not as young as you once were. I am strong, I insisted, my voice laced with a hint of steel. And I am determined. I will not be denied this. I paused, my gaze meeting hers. I will speak with Brandon, I continued. I will tell him myself that I wish to go to the College of Winterhold. Diana nodded slowly. Very well, mother, she said. I will also come with you. She led me out of the solar and through the winding corridors of Winterfell, her footsteps steady and sure. My own steps, though slower, were filled with a newfound purpose. I would see my family. I would see the college. And I would not let anything stand in my way. We found Brandon in his solar, poring over maps and ledgers. He looked up as we entered, his expression softening slightly as he saw me. Cailin, he greeted me. I wish to go to the College of Winterhold, I declared. I wish to see our granddaughter and grandsons. I wish to see this place that Theon has built. Brandon became thoughtful. It is a long journey, my dear, he said. And the roads are treacherous. You are not as young as you once were. I am strong, I insisted. And determined. I will not be denied this. I have a right to see our family. Brandon relented. Very well, my love. If you are determined, I will not stand in your way. But you must take a proper escort. He arranged for my journey, and I prepared to depart, my heart filled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The journey to the College of Winterhold was indeed arduous, but the sight that greeted us upon our arrival was enough to dispel any lingering weariness. The college, a sprawling complex of stone buildings and verdant gardens, stood as a testament to Theon's vision and the North's capacity for innovation. As we entered the college grounds, we were met by a group of students, their faces bright with curiosity and enthusiasm. Among them, I spotted Morgan, my granddaughter, her eyes shining with excitement. Grandmother, mother, she exclaimed, rushing forward to embrace us. Her hug was warm and strong, a welcome reminder of the family I had missed so dearly. Morgan, my dear, I said, my voice filled with affection. You look well, and this place, it is even more magnificent than I had imagined. We were quickly surrounded by my grandsons, Arthur, Harrion, Eddard, William, Torrhen, and Alaric. Each of them greeted us with warmth and respect, their voices filled with the eagerness of youth. Welcome, grandmother, Arthur said, his voice deep and resonant. We are honored to have you visit the college. We have so much to show you, Harrion added, his eyes gleaming with excitement. The libraries, the workshops, the glass gardens, you will be amazed by everything. We are eager to hear about your studies, Diana said, her voice filled with a motherly pride. Tell us, what have you been learning? The grandchildren eagerly shared their experiences, each recounting their favorite subjects and discoveries. Morgan spoke of her fascination with the healing arts, describing the medicinal properties of the plants cultivated in the glass gardens. I am learning from Maester Thom, she explained, her voice filled with passion. He is teaching me how to heal the sick and ease their suffering. Arthur, like his father, was drawn to the practical applications of knowledge. He spoke of his work in the workshops, where he was learning to build and repair complex machinery. Father's inventions are truly groundbreaking, he said, his eyes shining with admiration. I am learning how to harness the power of steam and create machines that can improve our lives. Harrion, with his keen intellect, was drawn to the theoretical aspects of knowledge. He spoke of his studies in the college's vast library, where he devoured ancient texts and debated philosophical concepts with the scholars. Eddard, ever the quiet observer, spoke of the bonds of camaraderie he had formed with his fellow students. We are all from different parts of the North, he said, but we have become like brothers and sisters. We learn together, we work together, and we support each other. William, with his natural curiosity, was eager to explore every corner of the college. He spoke of his adventures in the observatory, where he studied the stars and learned about the mysteries of the cosmos. Torrhen, with his practical mind, focused on the potential of the college to improve the lives of the northern people. He spoke of his studies in agriculture and engineering, and his desire to use his knowledge to develop more efficient farming techniques and build better infrastructure. The college can help us to overcome the challenges of our harsh environment, he said, his voice filled with determination. We can learn to grow more food, build stronger homes, and create a better future for our people. Alaric, the youngest of the group, spoke of his passion for the arts and his desire to use his talents to celebrate the beauty and history of the North. I am learning to paint and sculpt, he said, his voice filled with enthusiasm. I want to create works that will inspire and uplift our people, and remind them of the strength and resilience of our heritage. Diana and I listened intently as our grandchildren shared their experiences, our hearts swelling with pride. They were all thriving in this new environment, embracing the opportunities that the college offered, and forging their own paths towards becoming the future leaders of the North. We are so proud of all of you, I said, my voice filled with emotion. You have all grown into such remarkable young men and women. Theon has created a place where you can flourish, where your talents can be nurtured, and where your potential can be realized. Diana added, your father would be so pleased to see how well you are doing. He has always believed in the importance of knowledge and innovation, and he would be overjoyed to know that you are carrying on that tradition. Morgan, ever perceptive, noticed the warmth in our gazes. We are grateful for this opportunity, grandmother, mother, she said, her voice filled with sincerity. The college has opened up a whole new world to us, a world of possibilities that we never knew existed. Arthur nodded in agreement. We are learning not just from books and scholars, he said, but also from each other. We are forging bonds of camaraderie and shared purpose that will last a lifetime. Harrion, ever the scholar, added, the college is not just a place of learning, it is a community. We are all working together to build a better future for the North, a future where knowledge and innovation are valued above all else. Eddard, ever the pragmatist, spoke of the practical benefits of the college. We are learning skills that will be invaluable to our people, he said. We are learning how to heal the sick, build better homes, and defend our lands. William, ever the explorer, shared his excitement about the discoveries being made at the college. The scholars here are pushing the boundaries of knowledge, he exclaimed. They are uncovering the secrets of the universe and developing new technologies that will change the world. Torrhen, ever the leader, spoke of his vision for the future of the North. We are learning how to create a more prosperous and equitable society, he said. A society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, regardless of their birth or station. Alaric, ever the artist, shared his hopes for using his talents to inspire and uplift his people. I want to create works that will celebrate the beauty and history of the North, he said, and remind us of the strength and resilience of our heritage. 1 comments 0 vote. King's Landing 4:57 AC. King's Landing. In the Red Keep of King's Landing, King Jaehaerys I Targaryen presided over a meeting of his small council. The weight of the realm pressed upon his shoulders, a burden he carried with a weary grace. Around the long, polished table sat the members of his council, each a pillar of the kingdom, each with their own agendas and concerns. Ser Daemon Balarion, master of ships, spoke of trade routes and naval strength, his voice booming with the confidence of a man who commanded the seas. Septon Barth, the hand of the king, his brow furrowed in thought, presented reports from across the 7 kingdoms, detailing harvests, disputes, and the ever-present threat of unrest. Lord Lyman Beesbury, master of coin, meticulously reviewed the royal treasury, his words precise and his calculations sharp. He spoke of expenditures and revenues, of debts and investments, his tone reflecting the gravity of his office. Grand Maester Alysanne, his face etched with the wisdom of years, offered his counsel on matters of health and learning, his voice calm and measured. He spoke of remedies and ailments, of the health of the realm, and the progress of the citadel. Ser Ryam Redwyn, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, stood silently near the king, his white cloak a stark contrast to the dark wood of the table. His presence was a constant reminder of the dangers that lurked, even within the walls of the Red Keep. Notably absent from the gathering was Queen Alysanne Targaryen. She had recently given birth to a son, Vagon, and was still recovering from the ordeal. King Jaehaerys I, after listening patiently to the reports, leaned forward, his gaze sweeping across the faces of his counselors. And what of the realm itself? He asked, his voice carrying the weight of his crown. What news do you bring of the happenings in the 7 kingdoms? What stirs beyond these walls? Lord Beesbury added his concerns. The treasury remains stable, Your Grace, but the cost of maintaining the city watch has risen. The influx of people from the countryside, seeking refuge from the unrest, has strained our resources. Ser Daemon Balarion, ever mindful of the sea, spoke next. The Ironborn have been unusually quiet, my king. Too quiet, perhaps. I have increased patrols along the western coast, but it may be wise to send a royal fleet to Pike, as a show of force. Grand Maester Alysanne offered a more somber note. A new strain of fever has appeared in the Riverlands, Your Grace. It is not as virulent as the Great Sickness, but it is spreading quickly. I have dispatched healers from the citadel, but the situation bears watching. Then Septon Barth spoke, adding to the concerns. Your Grace, while the Reach enjoyed a bountiful harvest, they face a different problem. They have an excess of grain, but the usual trade routes to the north are disrupted, and they are struggling to sell it. The Riverlands face a similar issue, though their surplus is smaller. They too are finding it difficult to trade northwards. King Jaehaerys I, his brow furrowed with concern, turned his attention to Septon Barth. And what of the north? He asked, his voice firm. Have you received any news from beyond the neck? What tidings do they bring? Quentin, the master of whispers, spoke, his voice a low, silken murmur. My king, my spies in the north have been less forthcoming of late. However, I have gleaned some information. It seems there has been a significant undertaking in Winterfell, the construction of a university called the College of Winterhold. It is said to be a place of learning, intended to educate the future lords and ladies of the north, as well as any talented small folk who show promise. Septon Barth shifted uncomfortably, his brow furrowed. A university in Winterfell? He questioned, his voice laced with skepticism. This College of Winterhold. It sounds like a departure from the traditional ways. Is it truly wise to encourage such novel ideas in the north? Grand Maester Alysanne echoed the sentiment, his face etched with concern. The citadel has served the realm for centuries, providing maesters to every corner of the 7 kingdoms. We are the keepers of knowledge, the guardians of tradition. This college could undermine our authority, our purpose. He steepled his fingers, his gaze fixed on the king. And what knowledge will be taught there? Will it be the wisdom of the ancients, the accumulated learning of generations? Or will it be some new, untested philosophy, some radical departure from the established order? Septon Barth nodded in agreement. The faith teaches us the importance of tradition, of adhering to the ways of our ancestors. This college, it smacks of innovation, of a dangerous curiosity. It could lead to heresy, to a questioning of the very foundations of our society. Sir Demon Balarion, however, leaned forward, his expression sharp and his voice laced with a hint of defiance. With all due respect to the Hand and the Grand Maester, he interjected, I see this College of Winterhold as a sign of strength, not weakness. The North has always been a land of hardy people, resourceful and independent. If they seek to expand their knowledge, to educate their future leaders, then we should commend them, not condemn them. Lord Lyman Beesbury, ever focused on the flow of coin, added his perspective. Indeed, Your Grace, the North has consistently improved its tax contribution to the Crown year after year. This suggests a growing prosperity and strength in the region, rather than a decline. Perhaps this College of Winterhold is a contributing factor to their increasing economic power. Septon Barth, however, remained unconvinced. That is precisely why I believe the North is becoming dangerously independent of the realm, he countered. Their growing wealth and self-sufficiency, coupled with this college, could lead them to believe they have no need of the Iron Throne. It is a subtle form of rebellion, a quiet assertion of their own power. Grand Maester Alysanne nodded in agreement with Septon Barth's assessment. And it is not just their wealth, he added, his voice grave. The North has been producing goods like crafting glass of remarkable clarity, producing cement, and even manufacturing soaps and distilled spirits of considerable quality. Their whiskey and what they call vodka are becoming quite popular. He paused, his expression troubled. This self-sufficiency in both knowledge and production, it is a dangerous combination. Grand Maester Alysanne's voice hardened. Given this growing independence and economic strength, Your Grace, he stated, I believe it is time to consider increasing the taxes levied upon the North. It would serve as a reminder of their place within the realm and help to curb their ambitions. Sir Demon Balarion scoffed, interrupting the Grand Maester. Increase their taxes again, he exclaimed, his voice laced with incredulity. Have you forgotten the last time we tried that? We've already increased their taxes twice in the past 5 years. If we squeeze them any harder, we won't just curb their ambitions, we'll plant the seeds of rebellion. And the North, as you all know, is not a land that takes kindly to being pushed. Septon Barth, ever the pragmatist, offered a different approach. Perhaps, he suggested, his tone thoughtful, we should not increase the taxes directly on the North itself, but rather on the luxury goods they produce. The glass, the cement, the spirits. If, as you say, they are the only ones capable of producing such items, then an increase in the tax on these goods will, in effect, be an indirect tax increase on the North, without the appearance of aggression. Grand Maester Alysanne nodded slowly, his initial reservations seemingly eased by the Hand's subtle approach. That is a more nuanced solution, he conceded. It would achieve the desired result without provoking open hostility. A delicate balance, but perhaps a necessary one. King Jaehaerys I, having listened to all the arguments presented, weighed the potential consequences of each course of action. He considered the concerns about the North's growing independence, the need to maintain the stability of the realm, and the wisdom of avoiding open conflict. Finally, he spoke, his voice firm and decisive. Very well, he declared. We shall proceed with caution. Increase the taxes on the luxury goods produced in the North, as Septon Barth suggests. But do so gradually, and monitor the situation closely. We must not provoke the North, but neither can we ignore the potential threat they pose. Sir Ryam straightened, his expression shifting from the stern vigilance of a Kingsguard to the proud satisfaction of a mentor. Your Grace, he replied, his voice respectful but filled with genuine admiration, Prince Aemon and Prince Baelon are showing remarkable progress. They are both naturally gifted, with a keen aptitude for both swordplay and horsemanship. He paused, a slight smile playing on his lips. Prince Aemon possesses his father's focus and discipline. He is meticulous in his training, always striving for perfection. He masters every technique with diligence and determination. He is a true knight in the making. Prince Baelon, Sir Ryam continued, his voice warming, is more like his mother. He has a natural flair, a boldness and a quickness that is breathtaking to behold. He fights with a passion and a ferocity that is truly awe-inspiring. He is a born warrior. The Lord Commander went on to describe their daily regimen, the hours spent in the training yards, the grueling drills, and the sparring matches against seasoned knights. He spoke of their dedication, their eagerness to learn, and their unwavering commitment to becoming worthy knights of the realm. He recounted tales of their growing skill, of Aemon's precise parries and Baelin's daring charges, of their victories against older and more experienced opponents. He spoke of their camaraderie, their mutual respect, and the bond of brotherhood that grew stronger with each passing day. They are not just learning to fight, Esser Ryam emphasized, his voice filled with pride. They are learning the virtues of knighthood, courage, honor, and loyalty. They are learning to be true Targaryens, worthy of their lineage and their destiny. King Jaehaerys listened intently, his expression softening with each word. A flicker of hope ignited in his weary eyes, a sense of reassurance that the future of his house, the future of the realm, was in good hands. 7 comments 0 vote. Time skip 2. 76 AC. The North, in these 2 decades since the full establishment of the College of Winterfell, had become a land both familiar and utterly transformed. The ancient heart of the North, with its stoic traditions and harsh beauty, beat stronger than ever, but now it pulsed with a new energy, a vibrant current of progress and innovation. The most visible symbol of this change was, without a doubt, the network of railways that now crisscrossed the vast expanse of the north. These iron veins, stretching from the Wall to Moat Cailin and from Sea Dragon Point to White Harbor, had not merely facilitated the movement of goods and people. They had shrunk the north itself. Distant settlements, once separated by days or weeks of arduous travel, were now connected by hours of relatively comfortable journey. This had led to an unprecedented level of interaction and exchange between the various regions of the North, breaking down old barriers and fostering a sense of shared identity. The economic impact of the railways was immense. Trade flourished as goods could be transported quickly and efficiently to markets across the North. The cost of goods fell, making them more accessible to the common folk. New industries sprang up along the railway lines, drawing workers from the countryside and creating new centers of economic activity. The railways also facilitated the movement of resources, such as coal from the mines near Queen's Crown, which fueled the burgeoning industrial sector. The growth of the North's port cities was another key factor in its economic transformation. White Harbor, already a significant port, had expanded exponentially, becoming a bustling metropolis that rivaled some of the great cities of the South. New ports at the Dreadfort, Cape Kraken, Flint's Finger, Ramsgate, Carhold, and Sea Dragon Point had also flourished, transforming sleepy coastal villages into thriving centers of trade. These ports served as gateways to the north, attracting merchants from across Westeros and beyond, and bringing a wealth of new goods, ideas, and cultures to the region. The North's burgeoning industrial sector, powered by the steam engines produced at the College of Winterfell, had further diversified its economy. No longer solely reliant on agriculture and the export of raw materials, the North now produced a wide range of manufactured goods, including textiles, tools, machinery, and even luxury items such as fine glassware and distilled spirits. This industrial growth had created new jobs and opportunities for Northerners, leading to a significant increase in the overall prosperity of the region. The College of Winterfell itself had become the intellectual and cultural heart of the North. Its scholars and students had made groundbreaking discoveries in a wide range of fields, from medicine and agriculture to engineering and philosophy. The college had also fostered a new generation of Northern intellectuals, artists, and scientists, who were pushing the boundaries of knowledge and creativity. The influence of the college extended far beyond its walls, shaping the intellectual and cultural landscape of the entire North. The graduates of the College of Winterfell had played a crucial role in driving the North's transformation. These educated men and women had taken up positions in every sector of society, serving as engineers, merchants, healers, teachers, and leaders. They brought their knowledge, skills, and innovative ideas to bear on every challenge and opportunity, contributing to the North's economic growth, social progress, and cultural enrichment. The North's military strength had also been significantly enhanced during this period. The creation of a well-trained standing army and a formidable navy had ensured the security of the region, protecting its trade routes, deterring potential threats, and maintaining order. This newfound security had further encouraged trade and investment, contributing to the North's economic prosperity and attracting even more people to the region. The population of the North had swelled considerably, driven by the economic opportunities, increased stability, and improved quality of life. People from across Westeros, and even from Essos, had flocked to the north, seeking a better future for themselves and their families. This influx of people had provided a larger workforce for the North's growing industries, a larger pool of talent for the College of Winterfell, and a more diverse and vibrant society. The quality of life for the average Northerner had improved dramatically. Access to better healthcare, education, and infrastructure had raised living standards and created a more equitable society. The North was no longer a land of subsistence farmers and hardy warriors, it was a land of opportunity and prosperity for all, regardless of their birth or station. The social and cultural landscape of the North had also undergone a transformation. While the traditional values of honor, courage, and loyalty remained strong, they were now complemented by a new emphasis on education, innovation, and progress. The North was a land that valued both its heritage and its future, a land where tradition and progress coexisted in a dynamic and harmonious balance. The rapid pace of change in the North had not been without its challenges. The influx of new people and ideas had sometimes led to tensions with the traditional ways, and the rapid industrialization had created new social and economic inequalities. However, the North had managed to navigate these challenges with a combination of wisdom, pragmatism, and a commitment to social justice. The North's leaders had invested heavily in education and infrastructure, ensuring that all shared the benefits of progress. They had also implemented policies to protect the environment and preserve the North's unique cultural heritage. The North had become a model of sustainable development, demonstrating that progress and prosperity could be achieved without sacrificing the values and traditions that made it unique. The transformation of the North was a testament to the power of knowledge, the importance of innovation, and the resilience of its people. It was a story of a land that had overcome adversity and embraced change, and in doing so, had created a new era of prosperity, enlightenment, and influence. The North, once a land of harsh winters and hardy warriors, had become a shining example of what a society could achieve when it embraced the power of knowledge and the spirit of innovation. The effects of this transformation would ripple throughout Westeros, shaping the course of its history for generations to come. The ripples of the North's transformation extended far beyond its borders, creating waves that crashed against the shores of the rest of Westeros. The economic and political landscape of the Seven Kingdoms began to shift, subtly at first, but with increasing momentum as the North's influence grew. The South, long accustomed to viewing the North as a land of barbarians and backwardness, was forced to reassess its perception. The wealth and prosperity flowing from the North, the quality of its manufactured goods, and the ingenuity of its inventors could no longer be ignored. Southern merchants, eager to tap into the lucrative northern markets, found themselves increasingly reliant on the trade routes that crisscrossed the North. The demand for northern goods, from the fine glassware of Winterfell to the sturdy machinery produced in its factories, soared in the South. Southern lords began to equip their armies with northern steel, recognizing its superior quality. Southern builders sought out northern cement, prized for its strength and durability. Even the distilled spirits of the North, once dismissed as crude and unrefined, became fashionable among the nobility, adding a new dimension to Southern feasts and celebrations. This economic interdependence had a significant impact on the balance of power within the realm. The North's growing wealth and influence gave it a stronger voice in the affairs of the Iron Throne. Northern lords, emboldened by their region's prosperity, became more assertive in advocating for their interests, demanding a greater say in the policies that affected their people. The Iron Throne, facing the North's increasing economic and political clout, found itself in a delicate position. On the one hand, the North's wealth and resources were essential to the stability and prosperity of the realm. On the other hand, the North's growing independence and assertiveness posed a potential threat to the authority of the crown. The decision to increase taxes on the North, twice in the past 2 decades, was a reflection of this dilemma. The Iron Throne sought to assert its authority and maintain its control over the burgeoning power of the North. However, this move had backfired to some extent, fueling resentment and resistance in the North, and further straining the relationship between the two regions. The social and cultural impact of the North's transformation on the South was also profound. The College of Winterfell, with its emphasis on reason, science, and innovation, challenged the traditional ways of thinking that prevailed in the South. Southern scholars, intrigued by the discoveries and theories emanating from the North, began to question established doctrines and explore new ideas. The influx of northern merchants, traders, and intellectuals into the South also brought with it a cultural exchange. Northern ideas about education, social justice, and economic development began to seep into Southern society, influencing the way people thought and lived. The South, long accustomed to viewing itself as the center of civilization, found itself increasingly influenced by the culture and values of the North. The other regions of Westeros also felt the effects of the North's rise. The Riverlands, strategically located between the North and the South, benefited from the increased trade flowing along the northern routes. The prosperity of the North stimulated the Riverlands' economy, creating new opportunities for its people. The Westerlands, with their vast mineral wealth, found themselves competing with the North's burgeoning industrial sector. While the Westerlands still held a dominant position in the production of gold and silver, the North's production of other goods, such as steel and machinery, began to challenge their economic dominance. The Stormlands, traditionally a land of warriors and soldiers, found themselves increasingly reliant on the North for the supply of high-quality weapons and armor. Northern steel, renowned for its strength and sharpness, became the preferred choice of Stormland knights, further strengthening the economic ties between the two regions. The Reach, however, viewed the North's rise with growing unease. While they benefited from selling food to the North not as much as in the past, the Reach's traditional dominance in trade and culture was being challenged. The Reach, long considered the most civilized and prosperous region of Westeros, resented the North's growing influence and saw it as a threat to their own position. The Reach lords, accustomed to being at the center of power and culture, found themselves increasingly marginalized by the North's ascendance. Even Dorne, geographically distant and culturally distinct from the North, felt the impact of its transformation. Dornish merchants, seeking new markets for their exotic goods, began to establish trade routes with the North, bringing spices, silks, and other luxury items to its ports. The Iron Islands, however, viewed the North's rise with a mixture of resentment and envy. The North's strong navy and its commitment to suppressing piracy had curtailed the Ironborn's traditional raiding activities, depriving them of their livelihood. The Ironborn saw the North's prosperity as a challenge to their own way of life, leading to increased tensions between the two regions. The transformation of the North had also had a significant impact on the Night's Watch. The increased population and wealth of the North had provided the Watch with a steady supply of recruits and resources, strengthening its ability to defend the realm against the threats from beyond the Wall. The North's commitment to supporting the Watch had become a crucial factor in its survival and effectiveness. The long-term consequences of the North's transformation were still unfolding. The North's newfound power and influence had the potential to reshape the political landscape of Westeros, creating a new balance of power between the regions. The North's economic and cultural dynamism had the potential to stimulate further innovation and progress throughout the realm. However, the tensions between the North and the Iron Throne, fueled by the tax increases and the growing assertiveness of Northern lords, also posed a significant challenge. The future of the relationship between the two regions, and indeed the future of Westeros itself, would depend on whether these tensions could be resolved peacefully and constructively. The North, having embraced change and harnessed the power of knowledge, had embarked on a new path, a path that led to prosperity, enlightenment, and influence. The journey was not without its challenges, but the North, with its resilience, its determination, and its unwavering belief in the power of progress, was poised to play an increasingly important role in the destiny of Westeros. 11 comments 0 vote. Arthur Stark, 77 AC. Winterfell. Arthur Stark Pav. The familiar chill of Winterfell nipped at my face as I made my way through the stone corridors. My boots echoed on the ancient flagstones, a sound that had been a constant backdrop to my life. Today, however, there was a different rhythm to my steps, a sense of purpose that quickened my pace. I was on my way to Father's Solar for a meeting that I knew would be of great importance. The familiar chill of Winterfell nipped at my face as I made my way through the stone corridors. My boots echoed on the ancient flagstones, a sound that had been a constant backdrop to my life. Today, however, there was a different rhythm to my steps, a sense of purpose that quickened my pace. I was on my way to Father's Solar for a meeting that I knew would be of great importance. I passed several guards, their faces grim and watchful, their hands resting on the hilts of their swords. They nodded respectfully as I went by, their eyes following me with a mixture of deference and curiosity. I knew they sensed the gravity of the occasion, the weight of responsibility that hung in the air. The solar door, a massive oak portal carved with the sigil of the direwolf, loomed before me. I paused for a moment, taking a deep breath. Inside, my father, Lord Theon Stark, awaited me, along with several other key figures in the north. I pushed open the heavy door and stepped inside. The solar was a large, rectangular chamber, dimly lit by a crackling fire in the hearth. The air was thick with the scent of old parchment and beeswax candles. My father stood at the far end of the room, his face etched with a mixture of weariness and determination. Arthur, he said, his voice a low rumble. You're here. Come, we have much to discuss. It's a bold undertaking, father, I said, leaning forward. But I believe it's a necessary one. A railway connecting Carhold and Barrowtown would open up vast new opportunities for trade and development in the eastern and central regions of the north. It would also make Winterfell an even more vital hub, further solidifying our position as the heart of the north. Theon nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on the dancing flames in the hearth. That is my hope, Arthur. But it will not be easy. The terrain between Carhold and Barrowtown is rugged, and the winters are harsh. The cost in terms of both coin and labor will be significant. We've overcome challenges before, father, I reminded him. The construction of the existing railways was a monumental task, but we persevered. We have the knowledge, the skill, and the determination to build this new line as well. And the college, I added, will be instrumental in this endeavor. Their engineers and scholars have made great strides in improving the efficiency of our steam engines and developing new techniques for construction. They can help us overcome the obstacles we will face. Theon's expression softened slightly, a hint of pride flickering in his eyes. You're right, Arthur. The college has been a boon to the North in ways I never fully imagined. Their contributions to our progress have been invaluable. Then we are in agreement? I asked, my voice hopeful. We will proceed with the construction of the Carhold-Barrowtown Railway. Theon affirmed, a decisive note entering his voice. We are in agreement. The Carhold-Barrowtown Railway will be built. It will be a testament to the strength and ambition of the North, a symbol of our progress and our determination to forge our own destiny. I paused, a question lingering in my mind. And what of the petition, Father? I asked, my voice carefully measured. The petition to the Iron Throne, requesting a decrease in the taxes levied upon the North. Has there been any response? Theon's expression darkened. No, he replied, his voice grim. There has been no response. Not a word. It's as if our concerns are of no consequence to them. My blood began to boil. This is outrageous, Father. I exclaimed, my voice rising. We have been loyal to the Iron Throne, and this is how they repay us. With indifference. With increased taxes that cripple our economy and breed resentment among our people. Theon raised a hand, his gaze firm but weary. Arthur, he said, his voice low but commanding, I understand your anger. I share your frustration, but we must not let our emotions cloud our judgment. We are the wardens of the North, and we have a responsibility to our people. We cannot afford to act rashly. He sighed, the weight of his position evident in his every word. For now, he continued, all we can do is acquiesce. We will continue to pay the taxes, as unjust as they may be. We will focus on strengthening the North, on building our infrastructure, on educating our people. We will make ourselves so strong, so prosperous, that the Iron Throne cannot afford to ignore us. I understand your caution, Father, I replied, my voice still laced with anger, but I fear it may not be enough. The lords of the North are growing restless. They see the prosperity we have achieved, the strength we have built, and they resent the Iron Throne for taking a share of it without offering anything in return. If this continues, I fear that acquiescence will not be enough. They will start to talk of rebellion. I understand your caution, Father, I replied, my voice still laced with anger, but I fear it may not be enough. The lords of the North are growing restless. They see the prosperity we have achieved, the strength we have built, and they resent the Iron Throne for taking a share of it without offering anything in return. If this continues, I fear that acquiescence will not be enough. They will start to talk of rebellion. I looked at my father for a long moment, seeing the weariness and resolve etched on his face. I understand, Father, I said, my voice softer now, but no less firm. I know our duty. But all I am saying is that if this continues, if the Iron Throne continues to ignore our concerns and exploit our prosperity, then a rebellion will be in our hands, whether we approve of it or not. The lords, and the people, will not tolerate such injustice forever. Theon sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. I know, he said, his voice heavy with the weight of responsibility. After a long moment of silence, a small smile cracked across his face, easing some of the tension in the room. Enough of this grim talk, he said, his voice softening. Tell me, Arthur, how fares the training of my grandsons? Are they showing promise? It's going well, Father, I replied, a touch of pride in my voice. Young Rickon has a good eye for archery, a natural talent. And Antares is showing himself to be very skillful with the blade, displaying a surprising amount of discipline and focus for his age. Theon's smile softened, a hint of tenderness entering his eyes. And how is my granddaughter, Lyanna, doing? Is she well? She is, I replied, my own smile mirroring his. She's growing stronger every day. My lady wife, Alara, dotes on her, of course, and even the wet nurse remarks on Lyanna's vigor. She has a strong cry, that one, and a grip that could hold a wolf pup. Theon chuckled, the sound warm and genuine. A true Stark, he said, his eyes twinkling. May she grow to be as fierce and loyal as her namesake. The North will need strong women as well as strong men in the years to come. He paused, the smile fading slightly as his gaze returned to the fire. Speaking of the future, he continued, his voice becoming more serious, we must also consider the education of your sons. They are the future of House Stark, and they must be prepared to lead. I've been thinking, they will go to Winterhold. I nodded in agreement. That was my intention as well, Father. Winterhold offers opportunities that even Winterfell cannot match. The breadth of knowledge, the exposure to new ideas, it will serve them well in the years to come. As we spoke, a sharp knock echoed on the heavy oak door of the solar. Father and I exchanged a brief glance. Enter, he called out, his voice regaining its usual commanding tone. The door swung open, and a guard, his face stern and unreadable, stepped into the room. He held out a sealed letter, the sigil of a three-headed dragon emblazoned on the wax. A message from King's Landing, my lord, the guard announced, his voice respectful. As we spoke, a sharp knock echoed on the heavy oak door of the solar. Theon and I exchanged a brief glance. Enter, he called out, his voice regaining its usual commanding tone. The door swung open, and a guard, his face stern and unreadable, stepped into the room. He held out a sealed letter, the sigil of a three-headed dragon emblazoned on the wax. A message from King's Landing, my lord, the guard announced, his voice respectful. He then bowed and withdrew, closing the heavy door behind him. Theon took the letter, his brow furrowed as he broke the seal. He unfolded the parchment, his eyes scanning the contents. As he read, his face grew increasingly grim, the lines around his mouth deepening. He then handed the letter to me. I took it, my heart sinking as I read the words. When I finished, I turned to my father, my voice tight. So, I said, the queen is coming to the north. Theon confirmed, his voice low and heavy. I looked at him, my mind racing. Now what, father? A strange glint appeared in Theon's eyes, a mixture of defiance and grim satisfaction. Now, he said, a low rumble in his throat, the South will learn more of the North's prosperity. They will see for themselves what we have achieved. Perhaps then, they will understand the injustice of their demands. Or, I countered, my voice sharp with concern, they will simply want a larger piece of it. They will see our wealth and find new ways to exploit it, to tighten their grip on the North. There's a reason we've kept the maesters at arm's length, father, never allowing them to send messages beyond what we've approved. And there's a reason we've been observing them, watching for any leaks of information. We've found something. Theon nodded, a hard edge to his voice. This situation with the maesters, it will continue only until the present ones pass. After that, there will be no more maesters in the north. We will begin appointing scholars from Winterhold to take their place. Men and women whose loyalty is beyond question, whose knowledge serves the north, not some distant citadel. I added, and we haven't shown them everything, father. We've kept the steam engines and the railways largely hidden from southern eyes. Southern merchants are mostly restricted to the docks and port towns, they aren't allowed inland. They have no idea of the true extent of our industrial capacity. A grim smile touched my lips. If the queen sees all this, all that we've kept hidden, she'll lose her mind. Theon's own lips curled into a grim smile that mirrored mine. Well, he said, a low chuckle escaping his throat, we have tried to be as secretive as we could, for as long as we could. He paused, his gaze hardening. But the north will open its borders to the queen. She will see what we have built. And then, we shall see what she intends to do. He turned to me, his expression resolute. Send ravens to the lords of the north. Inform them of the queen's impending arrival and command them to be present at Winterfell to receive her. And send a message to Janos at Moat Cailin. Tell him to prepare to receive the queen and her party. They are to travel by railway train, of course. We will show them the speed and efficiency of northern engineering. I replied, a sense of grim purpose settling over me. The queen's arrival would be a turning point, a moment of truth for the north. We would show her our strength, our prosperity, and our resolve. And then, we would see what the future held. With the orders given, we began to plan. The arrival of a queen, with all her retinue, was no small matter, even for Winterfell. 11 comments 0 vote. Alysanne 1.77 AC. Moat Cailin. The air grew noticeably cooler as our party finally crossed the neck. A palpable shift settled over the landscape, the marshy greens and browns giving way to a sterner, grayer hue. And then, rising starkly against the horizon, I saw it, Moat Cailin. 20 formidable towers stood sentinel over the narrow passage. They were ancient, yes, but strong and imposing, guarding the gateway to a forgotten kingdom. A shiver, not entirely from the cold, traced its way down my spine. This was the north. This was Stark territory. And the air itself felt different, heavier with history and a certain untamed wildness. But I am a dragon, I reminded myself, steeling my resolve. They may be wolves, but I am fire made flesh. Suddenly, a deafening roar shattered the stillness. It was a sound that vibrated deep within my bones, a sound that spoke of power and majesty. I looked up, my breath catching in my throat. Circling high above, her scales gleaming like molten silver in the pale northern sun, was Silverwing. My dragon. After what seemed like an age, our party finally arrived at the gates of Moat Cailin. Drawn up before the ancient stone, a company of northern soldiers stood at attention. At the head of the assembled group was a tall, stern-faced man in gray and white, Lord Janos Skull, Lord of Moat Cailin, with his family and retinue. His face was like carved ice, utterly devoid of expression. As I began descending from the carriage, they all knelt before me. A sea of gray and white, bowing low in the northern tradition. I inclined my head, a regal gesture I had practiced countless times. "Rise, my lord," I commanded, my voice clear and strong, addressing Lord Skull directly. The northerners rose, their faces a mixture of respect and wary curiosity. Lord Skull stepped forward, his gaze direct and unwavering, his expression still unreadable. "Your Grace," he said, his voice deep and resonant, "allow me to introduce my family. This is my wife, Lena Skull." A woman with a stern but kind face, she offered a curtsy. "And this is my heir, Torrhen Skull, and his wife, Alysanne Skull, née Flint." Torrhen, a younger version of his father, nodded, and Alysanne, a woman with sharp, intelligent eyes, dipped her head. "And their children, my grandchildren, Arnulf Skull, a boy with a serious demeanor, bowed, Ethan Skull, a younger, more restless lad, fidgeted slightly, and Mira Skull, a girl with a shy smile, offered a small curtsy. Lord Skull continued, his icy gaze never leaving mine, "My other son, Alaric Skull, and his wife, Serena Skull, née Locke." Alaric, with a more easygoing expression, bowed slightly, and Serena, a woman with a composed air, inclined her head. "And their sons, my grandsons, Barthogan Skull, a sturdy boy, gave a formal nod, and Benjen Skull, a younger child, peered at me with wide, curious eyes." Once the introductions were complete, Lord Skull's gaze finally met mine fully. His icy expression did not thaw. "Moat Cailin is yours, your grace," he stated, his voice flat and devoid of any discernible emotion. "Thank you, my lord," I replied, keeping my own tone measured and regal. I would not be intimidated by his cold demeanor. As the last words left my lips, a young woman, a maid with a respectful demeanor, approached. She carried a silver tray upon which rested a loaf of freshly baked bread and a small dish of salt. The ancient symbols of guest right. I took a piece of the bread and dipped it into the salt, a gesture mirrored by my own people. With the ancient rite observed, we entered Moat Cailin, passing through the formidable gates and into the heart of the northern stronghold. As I walked through the main hall, my gaze swept over the thick stone walls, the narrow arrow slits, and the sheer, unyielding strength of the fortifications. No one could breach the north by land if Moat Cailin were fully manned, I thought, a sudden, chilling clarity washing over me. Now I understand why the Andals failed to conquer this land. A flicker of pride, a familiar warmth, stirred within me. But we are dragons, I reminded myself, my gaze lifting. Stone and steel may deter men, but they are nothing against fire and wing. There was a power in that thought, a reassurance that settled the unease the formidable fortress had stirred. Lord Skull, his expression still impassive, addressed me. "Your Grace," he said, his voice formal, "my wife, Lena, will show you to your quarters. A feast has been prepared for you and your retinue this evening." Lady Lena, her face composed and her movements efficient, then led me and my ladies to the chambers prepared for us. The room was spacious, if somewhat austere, with thick stone walls and heavy, dark wood furniture. Once the heavy oak door closed behind Lady Lena, a silence descended upon the chamber, broken only by the soft rustle of our gowns. I turned to my ladies in waiting, Darla Mallister and Rosamund Redwyn, their expressions thoughtful. "Well," I began, my voice low, "what do you make of our welcome? Of the hospitality of Moat Cailin?" Darla, ever observant, spoke first. "It is formal, your grace. Impeccably so. Every detail attended to. The chambers are clean and well appointed, the food offered was fresh. Yet, there is a certain coolness to it, a lack of warmth that one might expect even in a northern stronghold." Lord Skull himself, his face was like a winter storm, unyielding and cold. Rosamund nodded in agreement, her gaze lingering on the thick stone walls. "Indeed, there is a sense of guardedness, as though they are fulfilling their duty with precision, but holding something back." I noticed the soldiers at the gate, their eyes were respectful, but also watchful. It is as if we are honored guests, yet also closely scrutinized. I paced slowly across the stone floor, my fingers tracing the intricate carvings on a heavy wooden chest. The bread and salt were offered, the ancient rite observed. That speaks of respect for tradition, for the laws of hospitality. But the air, it is thick with unspoken words, with a tension I can almost taste. Lord Skull's introductions of his family were precise, almost recited. There was little of the familial warmth I have witnessed in other lords' welcomes. Darla ventured, "Perhaps it is simply the northern way, your grace. They are known for their stoicism, their reserved nature. The harshness of their land may have forged a people less inclined towards outward displays of emotion. That may be so, I conceded, pausing by the window, my gaze drawn to the imposing towers outside. But even in the riverlands, where the winters are milder, there is a certain openness in greeting a royal guest. Here, it feels different. Deliberate, almost, as though every gesture, every word, has been carefully weighed. Rosamund added, and the fortress itself, it is formidable beyond measure. I understand now the tales of its impregnability. To assault such a stronghold would be madness. It speaks volumes of the North's ability to defend itself, their self-reliance. Perhaps their guardedness stems from a deep-seated independence, a knowledge of their own strength. I turned back to my ladies, a thoughtful expression on my face. It is a stark contrast to the almost theatrical displays of fealty in the Reach. The North is a different beast entirely. And Lord Skoll, he embodies that difference. He is a man of duty, it seems, but what lies beneath that icy exterior? What does he truly think of our presence here? Tonight's feast may offer some insight, Your Grace, Darla suggested. In breaking bread together, perhaps some of these walls will come down. We may glean a better understanding of their feelings, their intentions. I nodded slowly. Perhaps. Or perhaps it will be another carefully orchestrated performance. Either way, we must remain vigilant. Observe everything, listen intently. We are in the heart of the wolf's den now, and we must tread carefully. Then we should prepare for the feast, I said, my voice firming with a renewed sense of purpose. And with that, we began our preparations. As we finished our preparations and were among ourselves, a knock sounded on the door. Come in, I called out. The door opened, and Rosamund Redwyn entered the chamber. Your Grace, she announced, her tone respectful, the feast is ready, prepared to honor you. We exchanged a final, assessing glance, each of us adjusting our gowns and smoothing our hair one last time. Darla adjusted the delicate silver chain at my neck, ensuring the Targaryen ruby sat perfectly centered. Rosamund offered a reassuring smile, her eyes reflecting the flickering candlelight. Let us go, then, I said, my voice steady and regal. We shall see what this northern hospitality truly entails. We made our way through the dimly lit corridors of Moat Cailin, the stone walls echoing softly with the sound of our footsteps. The air was thick with the mingled scents of roasted meats, spiced wine, and wood smoke, a tantalizing promise of the feast to come. As we approached the great hall, the sounds of voices and laughter grew louder, a boisterous contrast to the austere silence of the fortress's passages. The great hall of Moat Cailin was a sight to behold, even for one accustomed to the grandeur of the Red Keep. Long tables laden with food stretched across the vast space, their surfaces groaning under the weight of roasted meats, steaming platters of vegetables, and intricately decorated pies. Torches blazed in iron sconces along the walls, casting dancing shadows on the rough-hewn stone and illuminating the faces of the assembled northerners. Lord Skoll stood at the head of the hall, his expression still largely unreadable, though there was a hint of something akin to satisfaction in his eyes as he gestured for us to join him. His family was arrayed around him, a formidable gathering of stern faces and watchful gazes. As we entered, a hush fell over the room, all eyes turning towards us. I swept my gaze across the assembled lords and ladies, offering a gracious smile and a nod of my head. Lord Skoll, I said, my voice carrying clearly across the hall, the feast is magnificent. You do your house proud. Lord Skoll inclined his head, his voice still formal. Your Grace honors us with your presence. We have prepared what we hope is a fitting welcome to the north. The feast proceeded with a measured formality. The food was hearty and plentiful, showcasing the bounty of the northern lands. Roasted boar, venison pie, salmon from the icy rivers, and a variety of root vegetables and dark, crusty bread. The wine flowed freely, a rich, ruby-red vintage that warmed the blood against the chill of the evening. Conversation was polite, but carefully restrained. Lord Skoll and the other northern lords asked about the journey, about King's Landing, about the health of my family. I answered with grace and diplomacy, offering carefully worded responses that revealed little of my true thoughts. As the night wore on, however, and the wine loosened tongues, the atmosphere began to relax somewhat. Lord Skoll's sons, Torrhen and Alaric, proved to be more forthcoming than their father. Torrhen, the heir, spoke with a quiet pride of Moat Cailin's history and its strategic importance, his gaze occasionally drifting towards his wife, Elara, who listened with rapt attention. Alaric, on the other hand, possessed a more easygoing demeanor. He regaled us with tales of hunting in the frozen forests and fishing in the icy seas, his voice filled with a genuine love for his harsh but beautiful land. His wife, Serena, a woman with a sharp wit and a ready smile, added her own humorous observations to his stories, eliciting chuckles from those around them. Even Lord Skoll himself seemed to thaw slightly as the evening progressed. He spoke of the North's traditions, of the old gods and the ways of his ancestors, his voice taking on a somber, almost reverent tone. It has been a long journey, and the hour grows late, I said, rising from my seat. I thank you, Lord Skoll, for your hospitality. The feast was memorable. Lord Skoll rose as well, his expression still guarded but his voice courteous. It has been our honor to host you, Your Grace. May you find rest and comfort within our walls. With a final nod to our hosts, my ladies and I retired to our chambers, leaving the great hall to the northerners. As I lay down to sleep, the images of the feast replayed in my mind. The stern faces of the northern lords, the formidable strength of Moat Cailin, and the lingering question of what lay beneath the carefully constructed facade of northern hospitality. 12 comments 0 vote. Alysanne 2. 77 AC. Moat Cailin. The morning dawned crisp and clear, the pale northern sun casting long shadows across the courtyard of Moat Cailin. After a night spent pondering the mysteries of northern hospitality, I rose with a renewed sense of purpose. Today, we would continue our journey to Winterfell, deeper into the heart of Stark territory. My ladies-in-waiting, Darla and Rosamund, were already bustling about, ensuring that our preparations were proceeding smoothly. Our retinue, a mix of southern knights and servants, moved with practiced efficiency, packing our belongings and preparing our mounts. Lord Skoll and his family, dressed in their customary grey and black, were also preparing to depart, their movements as precise and unhurried as ever. The courtyard of Moat Cailin, usually a place of military efficiency, buzzed with a different kind of energy this morning. Horses were being saddled, carriages were being loaded, and servants scurried about, attending to the needs of both the royal party and the Skoll retinue. Lord Skoll, his face as inscrutable as ever, oversaw the proceedings with a quiet authority, his commands brief and to the point. I, along with my ladies-in-waiting, Darla and Rosamund, were dressed in practical riding attire, though the fine fabrics and subtle embellishments hinted at our royal status. I couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation, mixed with a touch of trepidation, as I prepared to venture further into this strange and formidable land. As the morning progressed, Lord Skoll approached me, his expression still unreadable. Your Grace, he said, his voice deep and resonant, we are ready to depart. I trust your journey has been comfortable thus far. As comfortable as the neck allows, my lord, I replied, offering a polite smile. Your hospitality, however, has been most efficient. He inclined his head, a gesture that could have been interpreted as either agreement or polite dismissal. The North values efficiency, Your Grace. It is a necessary virtue in a land where survival is a constant struggle. He then gestured towards a path leading away from the main gate of Moat Cailin, a path I hadn't noticed before. If your grace will follow me, he said, I will take you to your transport. I exchanged a curious glance with my ladies, and we followed Lord Skoll, our retinue trailing behind us. The path led us away from the familiar sights of the fortress, winding through a narrow passage between two of the ancient towers. As we rounded a bend, the landscape opened up, and I saw something that made me stop in my tracks. It was a sight unlike anything I had ever seen before, a long, metal serpent, resting on two parallel tracks of iron. Smoke billowed from its front, and a low, rhythmic chugging sound filled the air. My eyes widened in astonishment. What is that? I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. Lord Skoll's face remained impassive. This, Your Grace, is a railway train. It is a marvel of northern engineering, a testament to our ingenuity and resourcefulness. I stared at the train, my mind struggling to comprehend its scale and complexity. The carriages were large and ornate, crafted from polished wood and gleaming metal, with large windows that offered glimpses of plush interiors. A train, I repeated, still incredulous. I have never seen anything like it. The South is less advanced in such matters, Lord Skoll said, his tone suggesting a mixture of pride and disdain. The North has embraced progress, for the benefit of its people. He then gestured towards the train. This will be your mode of transport to Winterfell, Your Grace. It will be a much faster and more comfortable journey than by horse or carriage. I hesitated for a moment, still overwhelmed by the sight of the train. But then, a sense of adventure washed over me. I was a Targaryen, a dragon rider, and I would not be intimidated by a mere machine. Very well, my lord, I said, my voice regaining its composure. Lead the way. Lord Skoll led us towards the train, and we boarded the first carriage. The interior was even more impressive than the exterior, with plush velvet seats, polished wood paneling, and intricate brass fittings. It felt like a mobile palace, a far cry from the cramped and uncomfortable carriages I was accustomed to. As the rest of our party boarded the train, I settled into a comfortable seat, my gaze fixed on the passing landscape. The train began to move, slowly at first, then gathering speed with a powerful surge. The world outside became a blur of green and gray, and I felt a thrill of excitement coursing through my veins. This was a new experience, a new adventure, and I was eager to see what the north had in store for me. The rhythmic chugging of the train and the gentle sway of the carriage soon became a soothing backdrop to our journey. The initial shock of seeing the mechanical behemoth had worn off, replaced by a sense of wonder and curiosity. I settled into my plush seat, the soft velvet a welcome change from the hard leather of a saddle. My ladies-in-waiting, Darla Mallister and Rosamund Redwyn, sat opposite me, their expressions a mixture of awe and amusement. "By the seven," Darla exclaimed, her eyes wide as she gazed out the window at the blurring landscape. "I have never seen anything like this in all my days. It's like a dragon made of metal, devouring the miles." Rosamund, ever the pragmatist, adjusted her seat, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's certainly efficient. We are covering ground at a speed I would have thought impossible. Imagine how this could change trade, communication, everything. Imagine the King's Road," Darla mused, her gaze dreamy. "Instead of weeks of travel, one could reach Winterfell in a matter of days. It would shrink the realm, bring us all closer. Or make us all more vulnerable," Rosamund countered, her tone sharp. "Such speed could also be used for war, for invasion. It is a powerful tool, this northern invention, and we must be wary of its potential." I listened to their conversation with interest, my own thoughts swirling. The train was indeed a marvel, a testament to the North's ingenuity. But Rosamund's words echoed my own concerns. Such power could be a blessing or a curse, depending on who wielded it. "The North is full of surprises," I said, breaking my silence. "From the formidable strength of Moat Cailin to this iron dragon. They are a people of contrasts, it seems, both ancient and modern, stoic and innovative." Darla shivered slightly, though the carriage was comfortably warm. "It is a harsh land, Your Grace. One can feel it in the air, in the very stones. It breeds a different kind of people, a people who are both resilient and wary." "Wary of outsiders, perhaps," Rosamund suggested, her gaze thoughtful. I sensed it in Lord Skull's demeanor. He was courteous, but distant, as if he were measuring us, trying to discern our intentions. "He is a lord of the North," I reminded them. "Loyalty and duty are paramount in these lands. He is likely cautious of any southern presence, especially a royal one. We are, after all, a symbol of the crown, of the power that has often sought to control them." "And a symbol of dragons," Darla added, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Imagine what the Northerners must think, seeing Silverwing flying overhead, and now this iron dragon carrying us through their lands." Rosamund chuckled dryly. "They probably think we are trying to conquer them with machines now, instead of fire and blood." I smiled, a genuine smile for the first time since entering the North. "Perhaps. But I hope they will see that we come in peace, seeking understanding and cooperation. We are all part of the same realm, after all, and we must find a way to coexist." The conversation continued in this vein for much of the journey, our initial apprehension slowly giving way to a grudging respect for the North and its people. We discussed the strange sights we saw from the train windows, vast stretches of untamed wilderness, towering forests of ancient trees, and bustling industrial towns that seemed to spring up from the very earth. "It is a land of extremes," Darla observed. "One moment we are passing through a desolate wasteland, and the next we are surrounded by the smoke and clamor of industry. It is as if the North is a land of two faces, both wild and tamed, both ancient and modern. And both fiercely independent," Rosamund added, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "I have a feeling we will find the Starks to be a proud and stubborn people, unwilling to bend to the will of the South." As the hours passed, the train continued its relentless journey northward, carrying us deeper into the heart of the Wolf's Den. The landscape outside became increasingly stark and beautiful, a testament to the enduring strength of the North. And as we traveled, my own resolve hardened. I would meet the Starks with respect and honesty, and I would do everything in my power to forge a lasting peace between our two kingdoms. The next day, as the pale northern sun began its ascent, we arrived at Wintercity. The journey by train, while novel and efficient, had been long, and I was eager to finally reach our destination. We disembarked the train, the rhythmic chugging fading into the distance as we gathered our belongings. Carriages, drawn by sturdy northern steeds, awaited us, ready to convey us the rest of the way to Winterfell. As our carriage approached the ancient seat of House Stark, I could see a gathering of figures awaiting us. Lord Stark, his family, and what appeared to be his assembled vassals, stood before the gates of Winterfell. As I descended from the carriage, a sea of gray and white knelt before me, a display of fealty that was both impressive and slightly unsettling. The next day, as the pale northern sun began its ascent, we arrived at Wintercity. The journey by train, while novel and efficient, had been long, and I was eager to finally reach our destination. We disembarked the train, the rhythmic chugging fading into the distance as we gathered our belongings. Carriages, drawn by sturdy northern steeds, awaited us, ready to convey us the rest of the way to Winterfell. As our carriage approached the ancient seat of House Stark, I could see a gathering of figures awaiting us. Lord Stark, his family, and what appeared to be his assembled vassals, stood before the gates of Winterfell. As I descended from the carriage, a sea of grey and white knelt before me, a display of fealty that was both impressive and slightly unsettling. "Rise," I commanded, my voice clear and strong, carrying across the open space. The assembled northerners rose, their faces a mixture of respect and wary curiosity. Lord Stark, a tall, imposing figure with a stern countenance, stepped forward. "Winterfell is yours, your grace," he declared, his voice deep and resonant. As he spoke, a young woman, a maid with a respectful demeanor, approached. She carried a silver tray upon which rested a loaf of freshly baked bread and a small dish of salt. The ancient symbols of guest right. As the maid presented the bread and salt, a symbol of guest right I accepted with a nod, Lord Stark began the formal introductions. His voice, though gruff, held a certain warmth as he gestured to those gathered around him. "Your Grace," he began, his gaze sweeping across the assembled group, "allow me to introduce my family. This is my wife, Diana Stark, née Mormont." A woman with a fierce gaze and a no-nonsense demeanor, she offered a curt nod. "And this is my heir, Arthur Stark, and his wife, Mage Stark, née Glover." Arthur, a younger version of his father, nodded respectfully, his expression serious but welcoming. Mage, a woman with a keen intelligence in her eyes, offered a polite curtsy. "And their children," Lord Stark continued, his voice softening slightly, "my grandchildren." Jaehaerys Stark, a young man with a quiet confidence, bowed. Lyanna Stark, a spirited girl with a mischievous glint in her eyes, offered a curtsy, and Rickon Stark, the youngest, who peered at me with wide, curious eyes. He then gestured towards a woman with striking features and a foreign air. "This is my daughter, Morgan Lothbrok, and her husband, Bjorn Lothbrok." Morgan, with her proud bearing and piercing gaze, inclined her head, and Bjorn, a tall, imposing man with a warrior's presence, gave a respectful nod. "And their children, my grandchildren," Lord Stark continued, "Ivar Lothbrok, Lagertha Lothbrok, and Bitserk Lothbrok." 3 children with a wild, untamed look about them, they offered a mix of curious stares. He then gestured towards a woman with beautiful blue eyes and brown hair. "This is my sister, Lyra Karstark, and her husband, Rickard Karstark, Lord of Karhold." Lyra, with her proud bearing and piercing gaze, inclined her head, and Rickard, a tall, imposing man with a warrior's presence, gave a respectful nod. "Then their sons Eddard Karstark and William Karstark." Lord Stark then turned his attention to the assembled lords, his voice regaining its formal tone. "And now, your grace, allow me to introduce some of the lords sworn to Winterfell, those who have come to welcome you to the north." With the introductions complete, Lord Stark gestured towards the interior of Winterfell. "Your grace," he said, "if you and your ladies would like to freshen up after your journey, I have had quarters prepared for you. My wife will show you the way." A nod of acknowledgement was all it took to signal the end of the formal welcome. The assembled lords and their retinues dispersed, their grey and white banners rippling in the crisp northern air. Lady Stark, her expression composed and efficient, turned to us. "This way, your grace," she said, her voice clear and commanding, and we followed her into the ancient halls of Winterfell. 2 comments 0 vote. Alysanne -3. 77 AC. Winterfell. After a brief respite in our quarters, a chance to wash away the dust of travel and don fresh attire, we made our way to Winterfell's great hall. The hall, though grand, possessed a stark, unadorned beauty, a testament to the North's practical sensibilities. Long tables groaned under the weight of hearty fare, roasted meats, root vegetables, and steaming bowls of thick stew, a welcome sight after the journey. Lord Stark greeted us with a curt nod, his expression, as always, difficult to read. His family was also present, his wife, Diana, a study in quiet strength, his heir, Arthur, serious and watchful, and his daughter, Morgan, with her striking features and a hint of the wild about her. We were seated at the high table, a place of honor befitting our royal status. The meal proceeded with a measured formality, much like the feast at Moat Cailin. Conversation flowed, but it was carefully controlled, a dance of polite inquiries and guarded responses. The Starks, it seemed, were a people who valued their privacy and their traditions, and they were not quick to reveal their true thoughts to outsiders. As we ate, my gaze swept across the hall, taking in the assembled lords and ladies. They were a hardy lot, clad in furs and leathers, their faces weathered and strong. They spoke of the land, of the coming winter, and of the challenges of ruling such a vast and unforgiving territory. Once the meal had progressed to a more relaxed pace, I turned to Lord Stark, my voice clear and steady. Lord Stark, I said, I have heard much of Wintertown, your people's settlement outside these walls. I would be most grateful if you would grant us a tour, perhaps tomorrow. I am eager to see how your people live and thrive in this harsh land. Lord Stark's gaze sharpened, his eyes, the color of a winter sky, studying me intently. After a moment, it would be my honor, your grace, he said, his voice deep and resonant. Wintertown is a part of Winterfell, and you are welcome to see it. The crisp northern air nipped at our cheeks as we stepped out into the bustling heart of Wintertown. Lady Diana Stark, our guide, led the way with a purposeful stride, her expression composed but her eyes betraying a hint of pride as she surveyed her domain. Wintertown, she began, her voice clear and strong, is the lifeblood of Winterfell. It is where our people live, work, and trade. It has grown considerably in recent years, thanks to the innovations we have embraced. As we walked, I observed the layout of the town. Unlike the crowded, haphazard streets of King's Landing, Wintertown was organized and spacious. The roads were wide and well maintained, stretching out like long, winding ribbons that connected the various districts. The houses were a striking departure from anything I had seen in the south. They were built of sturdy timber and stone, designed to withstand the harsh northern winters. But what truly caught my eye were the windows. They were large and made of clear, unblemished glass, allowing ample sunlight to filter into the interiors. The windows, I remarked, unable to contain my curiosity. They are remarkably clear. I have never seen glass like this before. Lady Stark nodded, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Northern glassmaking is another of our advancements. We have found ways to produce glass that is both strong and transparent, allowing us to make the most of the limited sunlight we receive. As we continued our tour, I noticed that the houses were not clustered together as tightly as in southern cities. Each dwelling had a small yard or garden, giving the town a sense of openness and spaciousness. The houses are set apart, I observed. It is quite different from the crowded conditions in King's Landing. The North values space, your grace, Lady Stark explained. It is a reflection of our land, vast and untamed. We believe that people thrive better when they have room to breathe. We passed by several bathhouses, large structures with steaming vents that indicated the presence of hot water. I raised an eyebrow. Bathhouses. What are these for, exactly? Cleanliness is important, your grace, Lady Stark replied. Especially in a land where illness can spread quickly in the cold. We have learned to adapt and overcome the challenges of our environment. The market area was a vibrant hub of activity, a stark contrast to the quiet formality of Winterfell. Stalls overflowed with goods from across the north. Furs, timber, ironwork, and surprisingly, a variety of fresh produce. The market is thriving, I observed. There is a great deal of wealth here. The market area of Wintertown was a vibrant tapestry of sights, sounds, and smells. Stalls lined the wide avenues, overflowing with a diverse array of goods. The air buzzed with the chatter of merchants hawking their wares and the lively bartering of customers. My ladies-in-waiting, Darla and Rosamund, were particularly captivated by the displays. Their eyes widened as they took in the sheer variety and quality of the northern craftsmanship. The glasswork is exquisite, Darla exclaimed, her fingers tracing the delicate curves of a hand-blown vase. I have never seen such clarity and artistry before. Rosamund, ever practical, examined a length of intricately woven fabric. The texture is remarkable, she said, her brow furrowed in concentration. It is both soft and strong, perfect for the northern climate. Even the soldiers in our retinue, hardened men accustomed to the rigors of travel, were impressed by the displays of northern craftsmanship. Their eyes lingered on the finely crafted weapons, the sturdy armor, and the intricately tooled leather goods. These swords are a work of art, one of the guards muttered, his hand hovering over the hilt of a gleaming blade. I have never seen such balance and precision. The daggers are just as impressive, another added, his gaze fixed on a set of obsidian-edged blades. They are sharp enough to shave with, and strong enough to pierce any armor. I, too, was drawn into the bustling atmosphere of the market. The sheer variety of goods on display was a testament to the North's ingenuity and resourcefulness. I found myself admiring the intricate glasswork, the richly dyed fabrics, and the finely crafted weapons. The North is truly a land of artisans, I remarked to Lady Stark, who stood beside me, her expression a mixture of pride and satisfaction. Your people possess a remarkable talent for craftsmanship. We have learned to make the most of what our land provides, she replied, her voice firm. And we have always valued quality and durability over mere ornamentation. As we explored the market, my ladies and I indulged in some retail therapy. Darla purchased a set of delicate glass goblets, their clear surfaces shimmering in the pale northern sunlight. Rosamond acquired several lengths of the richly woven fabric, envisioning gowns of unparalleled comfort and elegance. Even I couldn't resist the allure of the northern craftsmanship. I commissioned a set of finely crafted daggers, their obsidian blades honed to a razor's edge, their hilts adorned with intricate carvings of northern runes. They were both beautiful and deadly, a fitting symbol of the North's dual nature. We also passed by several parks, green spaces with carefully tended gardens and sturdy benches. Even in the north, it seemed, there was a desire for beauty and tranquility. As we walked, I couldn't help but be impressed by what I saw. Wintertown was a testament to the North's ingenuity and resilience, a thriving community that had adapted to its harsh environment and prospered. It was a far cry from the image of a primitive, backward land that I had once held in my mind. The North was a land of secrets and surprises, and I was only just beginning to uncover them. As our tour of Wintertown progressed, we approached a section of the settlement that was noticeably different. Here, the bustling market stalls and open-air shops gave way to a more industrial landscape. We came upon a set of imposing gates, crafted from thick, reinforced iron, their surface blackened and scarred, hinting at the intense heat they must have endured. The gates were heavily guarded. More than 20 Stark soldiers, clad in full-plate armor and armed with formidable-looking halberds, stood watch with unwavering vigilance. Their faces were stern and impassive, their eyes scanning the surroundings with a keen intensity. I turned to Lady Stark, my curiosity piqued by the heightened security. "Lady Stark," I inquired, my voice low, "what lies beyond these gates?" "This area seems significantly more fortified than the rest of the town." Lady Stark's expression turned serious, her gaze fixed on the imposing gates. "Beyond these gates, Your Grace," she explained, her voice measured, "lies the heart of our industry. It is where the North's products are made, where our innovations are developed, and where the secrets of our prosperity are kept." Her words only deepened my curiosity. "Secrets?" I echoed, my brow furrowed. "What kind of secrets?" Lady Stark hesitated for a moment, as if weighing her words carefully. "The North has made great strides in recent years," she said, her tone guarded. "We have developed new technologies, harnessed new sources of power, and found ways to thrive in our harsh environment. These advancements have allowed us to prosper, but they are also valuable." I considered her words, my mind racing. The North's prosperity was undeniable, but the extent of their technological advancements was becoming increasingly clear. The railway, the glassmaking, and now this heavily guarded industrial complex, it was all far more advanced than anything I had seen in the South. 20 soldiers seems a rather small force to guard such valuable secrets, I observed, my gaze sweeping over the stoic guards. Lady Stark's eyes met mine, her expression unwavering. "Those are merely the outer guard, Your Grace," she revealed, her voice firm. "Behind those gates, there are 1,000 Stark soldiers, ever vigilant, ever ready to defend the North's treasures. They are a constant reminder that the North is not to be trifled with." Lady Stark's revelation hung in the air, the weight of 1,000 hidden soldiers adding a new layer of complexity to my understanding of the North. I studied her face, searching for any hint of deception, but found only a steely resolve, a quiet pride in the strength and secrecy of her people. 1,000 soldiers, I repeated, the number echoing in my mind. That is a significant force. Even for a royal treasury, let alone an industrial complex. Lady Stark's gaze remained fixed on the gates, her expression unyielding. "The North has learned to be self-reliant, Your Grace," she said, her voice firm. "We have learned to protect what is ours, to defend our progress from those who would seek to exploit it. Our advancements are not merely a source of wealth, they are a matter of survival in this harsh land. We cannot afford to be vulnerable." Her words carried a clear warning, a subtle but unmistakable message. The North was not to be underestimated. They were not a backward, primitive people, as some in the South might believe. They were a force to be reckoned with, a kingdom with its own secrets and its own strength, fiercely guarded and deeply rooted. I considered my next words carefully. I was a queen, accustomed to being obeyed, to having my will prevail. But I was also a guest in a foreign land, a land that had shown me a level of sophistication and power I had not anticipated. I could not afford to be arrogant or dismissive. "I understand, Lady Stark," I said, my voice measured and respectful. "The North has its own ways, its own reasons for its actions. I did not mean to pry, but merely to express my surprise at the extent of your defenses." Lady Stark turned to face me, her gaze softening slightly, though her expression remained serious. "I know you did not, Your Grace," she said, her voice a little less sharp. "But it is important that you understand the North. We are a proud people, and we value our independence. We have learned to survive and thrive on our own terms, and we will not easily relinquish what we have achieved. She paused, her eyes searching mine. We welcome you to Winterfell, Your Grace, and we will extend to you the hospitality that is due to a royal guest. But we also expect you to respect our traditions and our ways. We are not a kingdom to be conquered or controlled. We are a partner, an ally, but never a subject. Her words were a challenge, a declaration of the North's terms for any future relationship with the South. They were a reminder that the North was not a prize to be won, but a power to be reckoned with, a force that demanded respect and recognition. As our tour of Wintertown drew to a close, and we began to make our way back towards Winterfell, I found myself increasingly impressed by the North. The ingenuity, the self-reliance, the sheer scale of what they had achieved, it was all a far cry from the image I had held in my mind. Lady Stark, I said, my voice thoughtful, I have heard tales of the College of Winterhold, a place of learning and knowledge. Is it far from here? Lady Stark's expression softened slightly, a hint of pride entering her voice. The College of Winterhold is indeed a place of great learning, Your Grace. It is located on the coast, not far from here, but it would take approximately half a day's ride to reach it. I considered this, my mind already turning over the possibilities. The College of Winterhold, it sounded like a place of immense power and potential, a place that could hold secrets that even the South did not know. I would be most grateful, I said, my voice carefully measured, if you would allow me to visit the College of Winterhold. I am eager to learn more about the North's academic traditions. Lady Stark regarded me for a moment, her expression thoughtful. It can be arranged, Your Grace, she said finally. We can depart for Winterhold tomorrow morning. I believe it would be enlightening for you. With that, our tour of Wintertown concluded, and we returned to the relative calm of Winterfell's ancient walls. The impressions of the town, however, remained vivid in my mind, a testament to the North's unique and powerful nature. That evening, a grand feast was held in our honor within the Great Hall of Winterfell. But unlike the formal, almost stilted gatherings I was accustomed to in the South, this feast was a different affair entirely. The northern lords and ladies, clad in their furs and leathers, ate and drank with a gusto that was both infectious and slightly unsettling. They roared with laughter, pounded on the tables, and sang songs that were both mournful and triumphant. It was as if they were celebrating life itself, embracing the moment with a fierce intensity, as if, as you said, there was no tomorrow. 14 comments 0 vote. Alysanne 4. 77 AC. Winterfell. The next morning, after a hearty northern breakfast of oatcakes, smoked fish, and strong, dark ale, we prepared to depart for the College of Winterhold. I was eager to see this place of learning, to delve into the mysteries it held, and to perhaps gain some insight into the North's unique approach to knowledge. To escort us on this journey, Lord Stark had assigned his heir, Arthur Stark, a man of quiet strength and unwavering duty. Accompanying him was his wife, Mage Stark, a woman of sharp intellect and keen observation. Their presence spoke volumes about the importance of this trip, a subtle indication that the Starks were willing to share their knowledge, but only with those they trusted. Our party consisted of myself, my ladies-in-waiting, Darla and Rosamund, a contingent of my Kingsguard led by the ever-vigilant Ryam Redwyn, and a handful of Stark guards, clad in their familiar grey. We rode on horseback, the sturdy northern steeds well suited to the rugged terrain. As we rode, the landscape gradually changed. The rolling hills and dense forests gave way to a more desolate and windswept terrain, the air growing colder and the sky a pale, almost ethereal blue. The scent of the sea became more pronounced, a salty tang that hinted at the proximity of the coast. Arthur Stark, riding beside me, proved to be a man of few words, but when he did speak, his words were measured and thoughtful. At one point, he turned to me, his gaze serious. Your Grace, he said, the College of Winterhold is a place of great power. It is a source of pride for the North, but also a responsibility. Mage and I both spent time there, in our youth. We have learned to wield knowledge with caution, to respect its potential for both good and evil. I nodded, intrigued. And what kind of knowledge is housed within its walls, Lord Stark? Arthur paused, choosing his words carefully. Knowledge of the world, Your Grace. Knowledge of the elements, of the forces that shape our existence. And yes, knowledge of things that some might consider arcane. Mage Stark, riding with my ladies, was more forthcoming. She engaged Darla and Rosamund in lively conversation, inquiring about the happenings in the south, the intrigues of the court, and the state of the realm. She listened with rapt attention, her sharp eyes missing nothing, her quick wit often eliciting laughter. The south seems a world away from here, she remarked at one point, her gaze sweeping over the stark landscape. The concerns of kings and queens often seem trivial compared to the challenges we face here in the north. We are more concerned with surviving the winter than with the games of power. Though, I suppose power still matters, even when you're trying to survive. She gave a wry smile. As we rode, the conversation turned to the recent events in King's Landing, the rumors and whispers that had reached even this far-flung corner of the realm. I spoke of the challenges of ruling, the burden of responsibility, and the constant threat of those who would seek to undermine my authority. Arthur and Mage listened intently, their expressions thoughtful and serious. They offered no easy answers, no comforting platitudes. Instead, they spoke of the importance of strength, of vigilance, and of the unwavering support of one's people. Arthur added, "The North remembers, Your Grace. We remember the cost of weakness, the price of betrayal. We value loyalty above all else." By afternoon, the College of Winterhold came into view, a cluster of imposing towers perched precariously on a cliff overlooking the churning sea. It was a sight that both inspired awe and instilled a sense of unease, a place of ancient power and hidden secrets. Okay, I've updated the description to reflect that the director and heads of faculty are wearing normal clothes, not robes. Here's the revised scene. As we approached the College of Winterhold, its unique architecture stood out against the stark northern landscape. The towers, a blend of northern practicality and architectural styles from beyond its borders, rose from the cliff face, a testament to the North's willingness to embrace and adapt knowledge. A wide, well-maintained road led us directly to the entrance. Arthur and Mage led the way, their expressions a mixture of respect and familiarity as we approached. The wind, while still present, seemed less harsh here, perhaps due to the college's design. As we reached the main gates, they opened smoothly, revealing a courtyard bustling with activity. Standing in the center of the courtyard, surrounded by a group of individuals in practical, yet scholarly-looking attire, was a man with an air of quiet authority. He had a thoughtful face and keen, intelligent eyes. This, I knew, must be the director of the college. Arthur stepped forward, his voice respectful. "Your Grace," he said, "allow me to introduce you to Director Lucas Reed of the College of Winterhold." Director Reed inclined his head, his gaze meeting mine with a keen interest. "Your Grace," he said, his voice clear and educated, "welcome to the College of Winterhold. We are honored by your presence." "The honor is mine, Director Reed," I replied, my voice steady and regal. "I have heard much of this place, and I am eager to learn more about its unique foundation." Director Reed smiled, a subtle but genuine expression. "Then let us begin," he said. "Allow me to introduce you to the heads of our various faculties." He gestured to the individuals around him. "This is Master Bryn Stoneson, head of the Faculty of Natural Sciences," he said, indicating a man with a sturdy build and a practical air, dressed in a thick woolen tunic and sturdy trousers. He bowed with a scholarly grace. "And this is Mistress Alara, head of the Faculty of Rhetoric and Logic," he continued, gesturing to a woman with a sharp wit and a commanding presence, wearing a well-tailored but unadorned gown. She offered a polite nod. "And this is Master Theron, head of the Faculty of Medicine," he concluded, indicating a wizened old man with a long white beard and a surprisingly spry manner, clad in layers of warm, functional clothing. He inclined his head with a twinkle in his eye. After the introductions, Director Reed led us on a tour of the college. The layout featured lecture halls, libraries, and laboratories organized around central courtyards. We visited the Faculty of Natural Sciences, where students were engaged in experiments with various materials and forces, a blend of northern pragmatism and classical learning. In the Faculty of Rhetoric and Logic, we observed lively debates and discussions, students honing their skills in argumentation and critical thinking. The Faculty of Medicine was a fascinating mix of traditional healing practices and innovative techniques, reflecting the North's ability to adapt and improve upon existing knowledge. As we explored the college, I was struck by the emphasis on reason, inquiry, and the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. "The college values both tradition and innovation," Director Reed explained, "and we encourage our students to question everything in their pursuit of understanding." I was deeply impressed by what I saw at the College of Winterhold. It was a place of serious scholarship and intellectual curiosity, a testament to the North's commitment to learning. Director Reed then led us to a large, open courtyard, different from the arrival area. This one was clearly dedicated to martial training. Several students were engaged in rigorous exercises, the clang of steel echoing in the crisp air. Some practiced with swords, their movements fluid and precise, while others wielded spears with disciplined thrusts and parries. Groups sparred with axes and hammers, the impact of metal on metal resonating across the yard. Archers stood at targets, their arrows flying with deadly accuracy. "This is our training grounds," Director Reed explained, gesturing towards the students. "While the mind is our primary focus, the ability to defend oneself and the North is also highly valued. Many of our graduates go on to serve in various capacities, and a strong foundation in martial arts is essential." Master Brimstoneson added, we train in the traditional methods. Sword, spear, axe, and hammer, these are the weapons of our people. And archery, for both hunting and warfare. We believe in a well-rounded individual, capable in both intellect and arms. We watched for a while as the students trained, their dedication evident in their sweat-soaked tunics and focused expressions. The intensity of their practice was palpable, a testament to the seriousness with which they approached their martial studies. The rhythmic clash of steel and the thud of arrows hitting their marks created a powerful atmosphere. Leaving the training yard, Director Reed then guided us towards another section of the college. The architecture here was more functional, less ornate. We entered a long building with numerous doors lining the hallways. These are the student dormitories, Director Reed explained. Students reside here during their studies. We strive to create a communal environment that fosters collaboration and learning, even outside of formal instruction. Mistress Alara added, the dorms are designed to be comfortable and conducive to study. Each student has their own private room, but there are also common areas for discussion and shared learning. We were shown a typical student room, which was Spartan but well maintained, containing a bed, a desk laden with scrolls and books, and a small window offering a view of the sea. It was clear that the focus here was on academics, with little room for unnecessary comforts. As we walked through the dormitories, we passed a few students who offered polite nods of greeting. They seemed dedicated and focused, their minds clearly occupied with their studies. The atmosphere was quiet and studious, a stark contrast to the energetic clang of the training yard. The College of Winterhold, it seemed, was a place where both intellectual pursuits and martial prowess were highly valued, a place where the students were being rigorously trained in both mind and body, preparing them for a variety of roles within the North. 6 comments 0 vote. Alysanne 5. 77 AC. College of Winterhold. Director Reed, I began, my curiosity piqued by the unique blend of martial and intellectual pursuits I had witnessed. The learning process here seems quite comprehensive. Could you elaborate on how a student progresses through their studies at the College of Winterhold? Director Reed nodded, his expression thoughtful as he considered my question. The educational process at the College of Winterhold is a structured one, designed to provide a comprehensive foundation for the future leaders and scholars of the North, he explained. The lords and ladies of the North typically send their children to us after they have reached their 9th name day. He continued, the academic year here spans 9 months. During this time, the students are instructed in a wide range of subjects deemed essential for their development. This includes history, mathematics, strategy, the basics of natural philosophy, rhetoric, and of course, martial training in the traditional northern weapons. At the end of these 9 months, Director Reed elaborated, we conduct rigorous examinations in each subject. These tests are designed to assess not only their understanding of the material but also their ability to apply that knowledge. Those who demonstrate sufficient mastery are then advanced to a higher standard of learning in the subsequent year. Following the examinations, he added, the students are granted a 3-month period to return to their families. This time is considered crucial for them to reconnect with their houses, to understand the realities of their ancestral lands, and to apply some of what they have learned in a practical context. It also provides a much-needed respite from their intensive studies. They are expected to return to the college at the start of the following academic year, ready to continue their education, Director Reed stated. This cycle of 9 months of study followed by 3 months at home continues for a period of 7 years. He concluded, upon completion of these 7 years, and having successfully passed the final comprehensive examinations, the students are considered to have finished their formal education at the College of Winterhold. They then return to their houses, equipped with the knowledge and skills necessary to serve the North in whatever capacity their lineage and talents dictate. And after those 7 years, Director Reed, I inquired, my curiosity still not fully satisfied. What paths do these educated individuals typically pursue once they have completed their time at the college? Director Reed nodded. After the completion of their 7 years of general education, the graduates have several paths open to them, he explained. Many return to their family seats, prepared to take on responsibilities and contribute to the governance and prosperity of their houses. They become stewards, advisors, and leaders within their own domains, their education here providing a strong foundation for their future roles. He continued, however, for those who have demonstrated exceptional aptitude and a deep passion for a particular field of study, the college offers the opportunity to remain here and continue their education at a more specialized level. They can choose to delve deeper into areas such as advanced natural philosophy, leading to potential breakthroughs in architecture and inventions that can benefit the North. Others with a keen interest in the well-being of our people may choose to pursue advanced studies in medicine and healing, Director Reed elaborated. They can dedicate themselves to understanding the intricacies of the human body and developing new methods to combat illnesses and injuries, becoming vital assets to communities across the North. Furthermore, he added, we have those who are drawn to the practical sciences, focusing on areas such as advanced agriculture and resource management. They work on developing more efficient farming techniques, improving crop yields, and finding sustainable ways to utilize the North's resources, ensuring the long-term sustenance of our people. Director Reed concluded, so, while the initial 7 years provide a broad and essential education for all, the college also serves as a center for advanced research and specialization, nurturing the talents of those who wish to dedicate their lives to specific fields that are crucial to the continued growth and strength of the North. Director Reed continued, his tone indicating a point of particular pride. It is also important to note, Your Grace, that the college is not solely for the children of noble houses. Over the years, we have identified and accepted numerous exceptionally bright children from the small folk. These individuals, often showing remarkable aptitude in specific areas, are given the same rigorous education and opportunities as their noble counterparts. He elaborated, upon completing their studies, these talented individuals from less privileged backgrounds are often assigned to various areas of importance throughout the North. Their skills and knowledge are invaluable assets, and they serve in roles where their expertise can best benefit our people. We have former small folk working as healers in remote villages, as architects overseeing the construction of vital infrastructure, as stewards managing the granaries and resources of large estates, and even as advisors to lords on matters of agriculture and innovation. This practice, Director Reed explained, serves two crucial purposes. Firstly, it ensures that talent, regardless of birth, is recognized and nurtured for the betterment of the North. Secondly, it fosters a sense of unity and shared purpose across all levels of our society. Knowing that even those of humble origins can rise to positions of influence through their intellect and hard work strengthens the fabric of our society. He concluded, the College of Winterhold, therefore, is not just an institution for the nobility, it is a crucible of talent for the entire North, providing opportunities for those with the intellect and dedication to contribute to our collective prosperity and well-being. Director Reed, I inquired, my mind still processing the remarkable scope of the college's educational outreach. With so many students, both noble and common born, how do you manage to provide them all with the necessary texts and learning materials? Surely, the task of copying books by hand would be immense. Director Reed smiled, a hint of pride in his expression. That, Your Grace, is where another of the North's innovations comes into play, he said. We have developed a device we call a printing press. It is a mechanical marvel that allows us to reproduce written texts much more efficiently than by hand. He elaborated, using a system of carved blocks and ink, we can create multiple copies of a single page in a fraction of the time it would take a scribe. This has revolutionized the dissemination of knowledge within the college and throughout the North. We can produce numerous copies of essential texts, ensuring that all our students have access to the materials they need for their studies. This printing press, I mused, the implications of such a device dawning on me, could have profound implications beyond the college walls. The ability to reproduce information quickly and efficiently, it could change the very way knowledge is shared. Director Reed nodded, his eyes gleaming with understanding. Indeed, Your Grace, we recognize its potential, and we are exploring ways to utilize it for the benefit of the wider North. Imagine the possibilities for spreading literacy and sharing advancements in various fields. He concluded, while the art of calligraphy and the work of scribes still hold their value, the printing press has become an indispensable tool for the college, allowing us to educate a far greater number of individuals and to ensure that knowledge is more readily accessible throughout the North. Director Reed, I continued, intrigued by the North's commitment to education and their impressive technological advancements. With such a comprehensive system and your ability to disseminate knowledge so effectively, would the College of Winterhold be open to accepting students from the South? Both the children of noble houses and perhaps even promising individuals from the small folk. Director Reed considered my question for a moment, his gaze thoughtful. In principle, Your Grace, he replied, his tone measured. Everyone who possesses the intellect and the desire to learn is welcome to study within the walls of Winterhold, regardless of their origin or social standing. Knowledge, after all, knows no borders. However, a hint of wry amusement touched his lips as he continued. The primary obstacle, Your Grace, lies not with us, but with the prevailing attitudes in the South. There is a widespread belief among the Southern lords, and indeed many of their maesters, that the North possesses little in the way of knowledge that their own learned men cannot provide. They often view our traditions and innovations with a degree of skepticism, if not outright disdain. He elaborated, they may find it difficult to believe that a land they consider primitive could offer anything of value in terms of education, particularly in fields beyond warfare and survival. Convincing the lords of the South to entrust their children, or to acknowledge the potential of their small folk, to a northern institution would likely be a significant undertaking. Director Reed concluded, so, while our doors are open in principle, the ingrained prejudices and perceived superiority of the South remain a formidable barrier to the exchange of knowledge and students between our regions. I simply nodded, absorbing Director Reed's explanation about the South's skepticism. The ingrained biases he described were not entirely unfamiliar. After a moment of contemplation, I turned my attention back to the matter at hand. Director Reed, I said, my tone now carrying a more personal weight, what if my own children were to attend the College of Winterhold? Would they be welcome here? Director Reed's expression softened, a genuine warmth entering his eyes. He inclined his head with a respectful smile. Your Grace, he replied, his voice sincere, it would be our distinct honor and pleasure to educate the princes and princesses of the realm. To have the children of the Crown grace our halls would be a privilege, and we would dedicate ourselves to providing them with the finest education the North has to offer. Director Reed then gestured towards a separate wing of the college, distinct from the student dormitories. Your Grace, he said, we have prepared suitable quarters for you and your ladies for your stay this evening. They offer a degree of comfort and privacy befitting your station. We followed him through a series of quiet corridors, the stone walls lined with tapestries depicting scenes of northern history and lore. The air was still and carried the faint scent of old parchment and sea air. Finally, we arrived at a set of spacious chambers, well appointed with sturdy northern furniture and offering breathtaking views of the churning sea below. I trust these will meet your needs, Your Grace, Director Reed said, his gaze respectful. We understand you may wish for a degree of solitude after your journey and the day's tour. Therefore, we will arrange for your evening meal to be brought to your quarters. Should you require anything further, please do not hesitate to send word. I surveyed the chambers, noting the comfortable-looking beds and the writing desk overlooking the dramatic coastline. These are quite suitable, Director Reed. Thank you for your thoughtfulness. With a final bow, Director Reed took his leave, and my ladies-in-waiting, Darla and Rosamond, began to settle in. A sense of quiet contemplation settled over the chambers as the sounds of the college faded into the background, replaced by the rhythmic crashing of waves against the cliffs below. Later that evening, as promised, a simple but nourishing meal was brought to our quarters, allowing us to dine in private and reflect on the remarkable institution we had visited. 5 comments 0 vote. Alysanne 6. 77 AC. College of Winterhold. Once the server had quietly cleared away the remnants of our meal, and the only sound was the distant roar of the ocean, I turned to Darla and Rosamond. Well, I began, my voice soft, what are your impressions of the College of Winterhold? What do you make of this Northern institution of learning? Darla was the first to speak, her brow furrowed in thoughtful consideration. It is unexpected, Your Grace. I confess, my preconceived notions of the North did not include such a dedicated center of learning. The emphasis on both academic pursuits and martial training is rather striking. It suggests a society that values both intellect and strength in equal measure. Rosamond nodded in agreement, her gaze still distant, perhaps replaying the scenes of the training yard in her mind. Indeed, the library was impressive, even if many of the texts were unfamiliar. But it was the training grounds that truly caught my attention. The discipline, the skill, those students were not merely practicing, they were honing themselves into formidable warriors. I leaned back against the cushions of the northern maid chair, considering their observations. The integration of martial training into their academic curriculum is certainly unique. It speaks to a culture where the threat of the harsh environment and potential conflict is ever present, requiring individuals to be both knowledgeable and capable. And the fact that they educate common born alongside the nobility, Darla added, her tone thoughtful, that is quite progressive. In the South, such opportunities are rarely extended beyond those of noble birth. It suggests a more meritocratic approach to advancement in the North. Rosamond shivered slightly, despite the warmth of the room. There was a certain intensity in the training, though. A raw, almost primal focus. It was effective, no doubt, but it lacked the finesse, the artistry, that one sees in the training of our knights in the South. A voice, deeper and more resonant, interjected from the doorway. Sir Ryam Redwyn, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword, had been a silent guardian nearby. With all due respect, my ladies, he said, his gaze steady, finesse has its place, but in battle, it is often brute force and unwavering discipline that prevail. The training I witnessed at the college was practical, designed for the harsh realities of warfare in this land. They are learning to survive and to protect, and there is a stark beauty in that efficiency. Darla and Rosamond exchanged glances, a flicker of understanding passing between them. I nodded in agreement with Sir Ryam's assessment. He speaks truly, I said. The North has faced dangers that the South can scarcely imagine. Their methods must be effective above all else. The printing press also impressed me greatly, Darla continued, returning to the academic aspects. The ability to disseminate knowledge so widely, it could be revolutionary if adopted in the South. Imagine the impact on literacy and the spread of new ideas. Yet, Director Reed seemed cautious about sharing such advancements openly, Rosamund noted. He spoke of the South's skepticism and their belief in the superiority of their own learning. It seems there is a deep-seated divide between our two regions, a lack of understanding. That is why we are here, I reminded them, my voice firm. To bridge that divide, to foster understanding and cooperation. The knowledge and innovations of the North should not be dismissed simply because they are different. And the fact that they would welcome my own children, I mused, a flicker of maternal consideration entering my voice, it speaks to a certain openness, despite their reservations about the South in general. Sir Ryam nodded solemnly. They are pragmatic, Your Grace. They likely see the potential for a stronger, more unified realm if knowledge and understanding flow freely between North and South. Still, Darla said, a hint of concern in her voice, there is a certain guardedness about them, even Director Reed. They share their advancements, but there is a sense that they are holding much back, that there are deeper secrets yet to be revealed. That is to be expected, I replied. Trust is not easily earned, especially after centuries of separation and occasional conflict. We must be patient, observant, and respectful of their ways. The College of Winterhold has shown us a glimpse of the North's true potential. It is a place of power, both intellectual and martial, and we would be wise to understand it better. Rosamund sighed softly. It is a starkly different world here, Your Grace. The beauty is harsher, the people more reserved, but there is a strength and a resilience that is undeniable. Indeed, I agreed, my gaze drifting towards the window and the turbulent sea beyond. The North is a land of contrasts, a land that demands respect. And the College of Winterhold, it is a microcosm of that very spirit. The conversation continued for some time, my ladies and Sir Ryam offering their own perspectives and insights into the remarkable institution we had just visited. As the night deepened and the sounds of the college finally faded into a peaceful silence, I knew that my understanding of the North had been irrevocably changed. It was a land of far more depth and complexity than I had ever imagined. A comfortable silence eventually settled over our chambers. The day's journey and the intellectual stimulation of the college had taken their toll. Darla and Rosamund were soon asleep in their respective beds, their breathing soft and even. I remained awake for a while longer, gazing out at the moonlit sea, the rhythmic crash of the waves a soothing lullaby. The mysteries of the North, and the impressive institution we had visited, continued to turn over in my mind. Outside our door, the steady presence of Sir Ryam Redwyn provided a sense of security. I knew he would remain vigilant until his shift ended, his loyalty and duty unwavering. The image of him, a steadfast sentinel against the unknown, was a comforting one as I finally succumbed to sleep, the echoes of the College of Winterhold and the vast, enigmatic North filling my dreams. The next morning, a sense of anticipation filled our chambers as we prepared to explore more of the college before our departure. As Darla adjusted the clasp of my cloak and Rosamund ensured my hair was neatly arranged, a series of loud, resonant bell chimes echoed through the stone corridors. We exchanged curious glances. The sound was insistent, urgent in a way that seemed to cut through the usual quiet of the college. What could that be? Darla murmured, her brow furrowed. With a sense of intrigue pulling me towards the source of the sound. Let us find out, I said, and we made our way towards the main hallways. As we exited our quarters, Sir Ryam Redwyn, ever watchful, immediately fell into step beside us. The corridors were beginning to fill with students, their pace quickening, their expressions a mixture of focus and haste. They seemed to be moving with a singular purpose, hurrying towards some unseen destination. Sir Ryam, his knightly instincts kicking in, gently placed a hand on the arm of a passing student, a young man with a stack of scrolls clutched in his arms. Hold there, lad, he said, his voice firm but not unkind. What is the meaning of the bell ringing with such urgency? The student, startled but respectful, turned to face the imposing knight. Sir Knight, he said, slightly out of breath, the bell, it means classes are about to commence. We must make haste to reach our lecture halls before the instructors begin. Classes, I echoed, my curiosity piqued. So the bell serves as a summons for the students to their studies. The young student nodded eagerly. Yes, Your Grace. Each bell signifies the start of a different session. We have a strict schedule to adhere to, ensuring we make the most of our time here. With a quick bow, he excused himself and hurried along the hallway, disappearing into a doorway filled with the murmur of voices. We continued our stroll through the bustling corridors, observing the various classes already underway through open doorways. In one room, a stern-looking master was lecturing on the intricacies of ancient northern history, students diligently taking notes on scrolls. In another, a lively debate was in progress, students passionately arguing points of rhetoric and logic. We even glimpsed a session on natural philosophy, where a group was gathered around intricate diagrams and strange devices. The atmosphere was one of intense focus and intellectual energy. Despite the early hour, the students seemed fully engaged in their studies, a testament to their dedication and the college's rigorous academic environment. The sheer variety of subjects being taught was impressive, a far cry from the more limited curriculum I was familiar with in the South. As we turned a corner, we encountered Mistress Alara approaching us with a warm smile. "Your Grace," she greeted us, her voice clear and welcoming. "I trust you slept well." "Indeed, Mistress Alara," I replied, returning her smile. "The college is certainly a hive of activity this morning. We were just observing some of the classes in session. The dedication of your students is quite remarkable." Mistress Alara beamed with pride. "They are bright and eager minds, Your Grace. The future scholars and leaders of the North. We endeavor to instill in them not only knowledge but also a thirst for learning that will last a lifetime." She then gestured down the hallway. "I was hoping to speak with you again before your departure. I am in the main library, if you would care to join me." As we walked towards the main library, the rhythmic sounds of learning echoing around us, I turned to Mistress Alara. "The college seems to foster a strong sense of community and purpose," I observed. "Are there specific rules or guidelines that the students are expected to adhere to during their time here?" Mistress Alara nodded, her expression becoming a touch more serious. "Indeed, Your Grace. To maintain a productive and respectful learning environment, there are several fundamental rules that all students, regardless of their birth or background, are expected to follow without exception." She began to enumerate them. "Firstly, and perhaps most importantly, there is absolutely no tolerance for discrimination of any kind between students of noble lineage and those from the small folk. Within these walls, all are considered equal in their pursuit of knowledge, and any form of prejudice is swiftly and severely addressed. Secondly," Mistress Alara continued, "the consumption of alcohol is strictly prohibited within the college grounds. We believe that clear minds are essential for effective learning, and intoxication has no place in this pursuit. Thirdly," she stated firmly, "any form of wanton bloodshed or killing is absolutely forbidden within the campus. This is a sanctuary of learning and peace, and violence will not be tolerated under any circumstances. Disputes, as they may arise, must be resolved through peaceful means." Fourthly, Mistress Alara added, a slight hint of a frown crossing her brow, "sexual activities are not permitted within the college. Our focus here is on academic and personal growth, and such conduct is considered a distraction from those primary goals." Finally, she concluded, "any disputes or disagreements that students cannot resolve amongst themselves must be brought to the director for mediation and resolution. We strive to maintain a fair and just environment for all." Mistress Alara then added a curious caveat. "It is worth noting, Your Grace, that once a student has completed their full 7 years of education and formally graduated from the college, the rules regarding alcohol consumption and sexual activity no longer apply to them in their personal lives outside of the campus." As Mistress Alara finished outlining the college's rules, we arrived at the grand entrance of the main library. The doors were enormous, crafted from dark, polished wood and adorned with intricate carvings of ancient symbols and constellations. Stepping inside, I was immediately struck by the sheer scale of the place. Towering shelves, stretching towards a vaulted ceiling far above, were packed with countless volumes. The air was still and carried the comforting scent of aged parchment and leather. Sunlight streamed through the arched windows, illuminating rows of books. What caught my eye were the numerous identical texts neatly stacked on the shelves, unlike the unique handwritten manuscripts of the South. I stopped, gazing at the endless rows. "Mistress Alara," I said, a mixture of awe and astonishment, "the number of books is staggering. Are those multiple copies?" Mistress Alara smiled. "Indeed, Your Grace. Our printing press allows us to produce many copies, making knowledge accessible to all students." She pointed to a shelf. "These are foundational texts on natural philosophy, each student has their own." I ran my fingers over a uniform binding. The implications were profound, widespread and efficient knowledge dissemination. "This printing press is remarkable," I said. "The South could benefit greatly." Mistress Alara nodded. "Knowledge shouldn't be a privilege. Sharing it empowers all." We explored the library, aisles filled with texts on history, mathematics, strategy, medicine, astronomy, and engineering. The scope was breathtaking. Students were scattered, some reading, others in quiet discussions around tables laden with books and scrolls. The atmosphere was one of focused learning. "The library is the heart of the college," Mistress Alara explained. Wisdom is preserved, and new ideas are nurtured. We encourage exploration and questioning. Organized sections for each field made navigation easy. Your cataloging system is advanced, I noted. Efficiency is key, Your Grace, Mistress Alara replied. With so much knowledge, organization is essential. The library was a hub of intellectual activity, a testament to the North's commitment to learning. The identical books symbolized this commitment, actively disseminating knowledge and empowering a new generation. The implications for the future were immense. As we walked deeper, I paused at the history section. Mistress Alara, I said, I'd like to understand Northern history better. Could I take a few texts with me? Mistress Alara was accommodating. Of course, Your Grace. We'd be honored. She gestured to a shelf. These detail the first men, the long night, the Starks, and our history. I ran my fingers along the spines. And medicine. The North faces unique health challenges. Are there texts on your approaches and local remedies? Indeed, Your Grace, Mistress Alara said, leading me to another section. Our Faculty of Medicine has treatises on northern ailments and local remedies. She selected a few volumes. These provide an overview of our medical knowledge. Mistress Alara instructed an assistant to gather the books. Soon, a stack of history and medicine texts was in my arms. Thank you, Mistress Alara, I said, appreciative. These will help me understand the North better. Mistress Alara smiled warmly. It is our pleasure, Your Grace. Knowledge is meant to be shared. As we continued our tour, I held the books close, a tangible link to the college's wisdom, a promising sign for future relations. We spent several fascinating hours within the library's hallowed halls. I delved into the histories of the North, tracing the lineage of the first men and the long shadow of the long night. The medical texts offered intriguing insights into the unique challenges faced by the Northern people and their innovative approaches to healing, often utilizing the very flora and fauna of their harsh land. Darla and Rosamond, too, found themselves engrossed in various texts, their initial curiosity blossoming into genuine interest. The midday meal, a simple but satisfying affair of hearty stew and freshly baked bread, was brought to a private reading room within the library, allowing us to continue our explorations without interruption. The quiet hum of scholarly pursuits surrounded us as we ate, a stark contrast to the boisterous feasts of Winterfell. As the afternoon wore on, and the shadows began to lengthen across the library's towering shelves, Arter and Mage Stark indicated that it was time to begin our journey back to Winterfell. With a final expression of gratitude to Mistress Alara for her generous hospitality and the invaluable knowledge she had shared, we bid farewell to the impressive College of Winterhold. The image of the imposing towers against the sea, a beacon of learning in the rugged north, remained etched in my mind as our horses turned southward, back towards the ancient seat of House Stark. The books I carried felt weighty not just in their physical presence, but in the potential for understanding they held. 5 comments 0 vote. Alysanne 7. 77 AC. Winterfell. A week had passed since our arrival at Winterfell, a period of delicate diplomacy and insightful discovery. Conversations with Lord Stark and his family unveiled the intricate tapestry of the North's traditions and the resolute character of its people. I had witnessed the quiet strength of Winterfell, the bustling industry of Wintertown, and the impressive intellectual rigor of the College of Winterhold, the initial wariness gradually giving way to a cautious respect and a burgeoning understanding for the Starks' deep loyalty and unwavering resolve. During one of our discussions, Lord Stark had broached the matter of the taxes levied upon the North, expressing his hope for a potential decrease to reflect the unique challenges and distances of their land. I had listened intently, assuring him that I would bring the matter before my small council for thorough consideration upon our return to King's Landing. Tomorrow, our journey takes a significant turn as we venture further north, towards the legendary Wall. This ancient barrier, a testament to the enduring vigilance of the North against a mythical threat, promises an experience unlike any before. A sense of anticipation, tinged with trepidation, settles within me as I contemplate this next leg of our journey, wondering what truths and dangers await us at the very edge of the known world. As the pale dawn painted the northern sky in hues of gray and rose, we prepared to depart Winterfell. The carriages were brought forth, and our small company, including Arter and Mage Stark who would accompany us for a portion of the journey, made its way towards Wintertown. Our destination was the railway station, a testament to the North's progressive ingenuity. The journey through the crisp morning air was swift. Upon reaching the station, the rhythmic hiss and clank of the northern rail system filled the air. The train that would carry us further north, towards the Wall, was already awaiting our arrival, its carriages sturdy and functional. Lord Stark, his expression as stoic as ever, offered a curt nod of farewell. "Safe journey, Your Grace," he said, his voice carrying a hint of the North's inherent gravity. His words held an unspoken weight, a recognition of the perilous lands that lay ahead. With our farewells concluded, we boarded the train. The whistle blew, a piercing sound that echoed across the winter landscape, and slowly, the mechanical beast began to move, carrying us further into the vastness of the north. The rhythmic chugging of the train was a steady pulse against the backdrop of the passing scenery, snow-dusted forests and frozen plains stretching towards an unseen horizon. The wall, I knew, lay far to the north, a silent sentinel awaiting our arrival by the morrow's dawn. As the train lurched forward, a low rumble vibrating beneath our feet, Darla and Rosamund exchanged wide-eyed glances. The sheer novelty of the experience was still clearly washing over them. They peered out of the large glass windows, watching the landscape slide by at a pace far exceeding that of any carriage ride. It's truly unbelievable, Your Grace, Darla finally managed, her voice a hushed whisper of awe. To move so swiftly, without the effort of horses, it feels like some sort of enchantment. Rosamund nodded vehemently, her gaze fixed on the blur of trees passing by. I still can't quite grasp how it works. All that steam and metal, propelling us across the land. It defies all logic. I smiled, a small amusement tugging at my lips. Their southern sensibilities were clearly struggling to reconcile with the North's pragmatic advancements. It is not magic, my dears, but ingenuity. The North has learned to harness the power of steam and mechanics to overcome the vast distances of their land. Arthur Stark, seated across from us, offered a rare, small smile. Necessity is the mother of invention, Your Grace. The distances in the north are great, and the winters harsh. This railway makes travel and trade far more efficient, especially when the snows are heavy. Mage Stark added, her keen eyes observing my latest reactions with a hint of amusement. It took many years of work and experimentation to perfect. There were setbacks, but the result has been invaluable to the north. Darla leaned closer to the window, her fascination evident. But how does it stay on the tracks? And what makes it move so fast? Arthur patiently explained the basic principles of the railway, the design of the wheels and tracks, and the power generated by the steam engine. His explanations, though straightforward, still seemed to stretch the limits of my latest understanding. Rosamund shook her head slowly, a look of bewildered wonder on her face. It's still so unnatural. Like a metal beast with a life of its own, carrying us in its belly. I chuckled softly. Perhaps, but a very useful beast indeed. One that will bring us closer to the wall by tomorrow morning. The conversation continued in this vein for some time, Darla and Rosamund peppering Arthur and Mage with questions about the train, its workings, and the very concept of such a mode of transportation. Their astonishment served as a stark reminder of the technological gap that existed between the North and the South, a gap that the College of Winterhold and now this very train had so clearly illuminated. The North, it was becoming increasingly apparent, held many surprises. As the train steadily chugged northward, the landscape outside the windows began to transform. The dense forests closer to Winterfell gradually gave way to sparser woodlands, the trees becoming hardier, their branches often coated in a layer of frost even in the late autumn air. The rich greens and browns of the south were replaced by more muted tones of gray, white, and the deep, resilient green of pines and firs. Darla, ever observant of the natural world, pointed to a flash of movement in the trees. What was that, Your Grace? It was quick and gray. Arthur Stark, following her gaze, explained, likely a shadowcat. They are swift hunters, well adapted to these colder climates. Solitary creatures, mostly. Rosamund shivered slightly, despite the warmth of the train carriage. Shadowcats. Are they dangerous? Mage Stark chuckled softly. They prefer smaller prey, but it's wise to give them a wide berth if encountered on foot. They are fierce when provoked. As we continued, the trees thinned further, revealing vast stretches of open moorland, dotted with hardy shrubs and tough grasses. Occasionally, we would spot herds of what Arthur identified as wild deer, their thick winter coats providing insulation against the cold. Their antlers, stark against the pale landscape, were impressive in size. The wildlife here is so different from what we are accustomed to in the south, Darla mused. We passed by frozen lakes, their surfaces like vast sheets of polished silver. Arthur pointed out tracks in the snow near the shoreline. Wolf prints, he stated matter-of-factly. They roam these lands in packs, formidable predators. Rosamund drew closer to the window, a hint of apprehension in her eyes. Wolves, are they a common sight this far north? They are a part of the natural order here, Arthur explained. They keep the deer populations in check and are a reminder of the wildness of this land. Mage added, the balance of nature in the north is a delicate one. Everything is interconnected, from the smallest insect to the largest predator. The harshness of the environment ensures that only the strongest survive. The glimpses of the northern wildlife, stark and resilient against the unforgiving landscape, painted a vivid picture of the challenges and the raw beauty of this land beyond Winterfell. The vastness of the north began to sink in, the sheer scale of the wilderness stretching out towards the horizon. It was a land that commanded respect, a land where survival was a constant endeavor. Yet, within this harshness, there was a raw, untamed beauty that was unlike anything I had witnessed in the more cultivated landscapes of the South. The journey by train was not just a means of reaching the wall, it was an education in the very essence of the North itself. The next morning, a sense of hushed anticipation permeated the train carriage. As the first slivers of dawn painted the eastern sky, a colossal structure began to dominate the horizon. It was a line of impossibly high, dark ice, stretching as far as the eye could see in both directions. It was the wall. A collective gasp escaped Darla and Rosamund. Even I, who had heard countless tales of its immensity, was struck speechless by its sheer scale. It dwarfed everything in the landscape, a formidable barrier against the wild lands beyond. After a hurried change of clothes, eager to get a closer look, I stepped out onto the small platform at the rear of our carriage, the crisp, frigid air biting at my skin. Arthur Stark stood there, his gaze fixed on the approaching spectacle. Lord Stark, I began, my voice barely above a whisper, my eyes still fixed on the towering ice. Are we finally at the wall? A faint smile touched the corners of Arthur's lips, a rare display of amusement. He turned to me, his gray eyes holding a depth of understanding. Not quite yet, Your Grace, he said, his voice calm and steady against the backdrop of the rumbling train. There is still perhaps another hour of journey before we reach our destination at Castle Black. An hour still, Rosamund exclaimed, joining us on the platform, her breath misting in the cold air. It looks so close. Mage, standing beside her husband, chuckled softly. The wall has a way of playing tricks on the eyes, my lady. Its scale is difficult to comprehend until you are right at its base. What seems like a short distance can still be a considerable journey. I continued to gaze at the wall, its imposing presence growing larger with each passing moment. Even from this distance, I could make out the rough, uneven surface of the ice, the sheer vertical drop, and the way it seemed to cleave the landscape in two. It was a monument to an age long past, a testament to the enduring threat that necessitated its construction. What awaits us at Castle Black, Lord Stark? I asked, my curiosity now outweighing my awe. Who will greet us there? We will be met by the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, Demeric Snow, Arthur replied, his gaze now also fixed on the approaching wall. He is a man of great experience and unwavering dedication to his duty. He commands the watch and oversees the defense of the realm against what lies beyond. After what felt like an age, the train finally shuddered to a halt at a small, austere station built in the shadow of the wall itself. The air here was bitingly cold, carrying the faint, crisp scent of ice and something wild, something untamed from the lands beyond. Stepping down from the train, the sheer scale of the wall was even more overwhelming. It loomed above us, a colossal curtain of ice that seemed to scrape the very sky. We were met by a contingent of men clad in the black furs of the Night's Watch, their faces grim and weathered. They escorted us towards a massive gate carved into the wall, a dark, forbidding opening that led into the heart of Castle Black. The sheer weight and age of the structure were palpable as we passed through the gate, the echoing sound of our footsteps swallowed by the immensity of the ice. Inside the courtyard of Castle Black, a sea of black-clad figures stood in silent formation. As I entered, every single brother of the Night's Watch knelt in unison, their heads bowed in a gesture of respect for the crown. Your Grace, he said, his voice deep and resonant, I am Demeric Snow, Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Welcome to Castle Black. He then gestured to a tall, broad-shouldered man standing beside him, his face bearing the rugged features of the north. And this is Hother Umber, my first ranger. 4 comments 0 vote. Alysanne 8. 77 AC. The wall. As we stepped further into the confines of Castle Black, the sheer austerity of the place was immediately apparent. The buildings were functional and built for resilience, a stark contrast to the grandeur of Winterfell or the relative comforts of King's Landing. We were led towards a large, dimly lit hall, the air thick with the scent of wood smoke and something vaguely metallic. At the entrance to the hall, Lord Commander Demeric Snow presented me with a simple offering, a piece of rough-hewn bread and a dish of coarse salt. I accepted the symbolic gesture, partaking in the ancient tradition of guest right. The brothers of the Night's Watch then began to move with a quiet efficiency, bringing forth platters and bowls laden with food. The fare was simple and hearty, thick stews of meat and root vegetables, rough bread, and pitchers of what smelled like strong, dark ale. It was a meal clearly designed to sustain men through long hours of hard labor in a harsh climate. The atmosphere in the hall was subdued but not unwelcoming, a sense of shared purpose and quiet camaraderie among the black-clad brothers as they went about their duties. Lord Commander Demeric Snow's weathered face grew grim, his gaze hardening as he considered my question. Your Grace, he replied, his voice carrying a note of weary vigilance, while the great mass of free folk have indeed come south and pledged their allegiance, the threat beyond the wall has not entirely vanished. The wild lands are vast and hold many dangers. He continued, his eyes seeming to pierce through the thick stone walls and gaze into the frozen wilderness beyond. There are still those who cling to their old ways, those who refuse to kneel. Amongst them are savage tribes, raiders, and yes, even cannibals, who remain entrenched beyond the wall. They are fewer in number than the great hordes we once faced, but their cruelty and desperation make them no less dangerous. These remnants still test our defenses, Lord Commander Snow explained, his tone grave. They launch smaller raids, probing for weaknesses, seeking to steal supplies or to inflict harm. They are like wounded beasts, lashing out in their desperation. We remain ever vigilant, for even a small incursion can bring death and destruction to the lands south of the wall. I nodded slowly, absorbing the grim reality that even with the influx of kneeling free folk, the dangers beyond the wall had not entirely abated. The image of desperate cannibals lurking in the frozen wastes sent a shiver down my spine. After a moment of contemplation, I shifted my focus to the men who stood as the first line of defense against these threats. Lord Commander, I then inquired, my gaze sweeping over the black-clad brothers who moved with quiet purpose throughout the castle, what are the current numbers of the Night's Watch? How many men stand guard upon the wall? A shadow of what might have been sadness flickered across Lord Commander Snow's face. Your Grace, he replied, his voice a low rumble, our numbers, though tested by time and circumstance, still stand strong. We currently have roughly 10,000 brothers sworn to the Night's Watch. He continued, gesturing around the courtyard and towards the various structures of Castle Black. These men perform a multitude of tasks, not just manning the wall itself. We have rangers who patrol the lands on either side, seeking out threats and keeping watch. We have builders who maintain the wall and our fortifications. We have stewards who manage our supplies and provisions. And we have those who serve in various support roles, ensuring the smooth functioning of Castle Black and the other castles along the wall. I nodded slowly, absorbing the information about the Night's Watch's numbers. 10,000 men, though a significant force, still seemed a small shield against the vast and unknown dangers that lay beyond the wall. A sense of the immense responsibility these men carried settled upon me. Lord Commander, I said, turning my attention to our surroundings, I understand the importance of vigilance and defense. But what of knowledge and learning here at the wall? Do you maintain a library, similar to the one I saw at Winterfell? A flicker of something akin to pride crossed Lord Commander Snow's stern features. Indeed, Your Grace, he replied. Knowledge is a weapon in its own right, especially when facing the unknown. We maintain a library here at Castle Black, and while perhaps not as extensive as the one at Winterfell, it is nonetheless a vital resource for our brothers. He then led us through a heavy, oaken door, and I stepped into a chamber that, to my surprise, was indeed as large and well stocked as the library I had toured at Winterfell. Towering shelves lined the walls, filled with scrolls and bound books, their spines bearing titles in various languages, some familiar, others hinting at lands and lore far beyond the Seven Kingdoms. The air was still and quiet, a stark contrast to the bustling activity of the courtyard. Dust motes danced in the faint light filtering through narrow, arched windows, illuminating rows upon rows of accumulated knowledge. It was a testament to the enduring human need to record, to study, and to understand, even in this desolate and dangerous place. Lord Commander, I said, my gaze drawn upwards towards the seemingly insurmountable height of the wall visible through one of the library's narrow windows, would it be possible for us to ascend to the top? I would very much like to witness the view from such a vantage point, to truly grasp the scale of this incredible structure and the lands it guards. Lord Commander Demeric Snow nodded, his expression impassive but not unkind. Of course, Your Grace. Understanding the wall is best done by experiencing its height. He then turned and gestured towards a sturdy-looking mechanism built into the stone wall. This way, we have a lift system that will take you to the summit. It is more efficient than attempting the stairs, which are numerous and treacherous. We followed Lord Commander Snow to the base of the lift, a large, enclosed platform made of reinforced wood and metal, suspended by thick ropes that disappeared into the heights above. A few brothers of the Night's Watch stood ready to operate the mechanism. With a series of cranks and levers, the platform began its slow ascent, the rough ice of the wall gliding past us. The journey upwards was surprisingly smooth, though the sheer drop below was a constant reminder of the immense height. As we rose, the vastness of the lands to the south stretched out before us like a detailed map, the forests and plains receding into the distance. Finally, with a gentle jolt, the lift reached the summit. Stepping out onto the top of the wall was an experience that stole my breath away. The wind howled fiercely, whipping at our cloaks, carrying the raw, untamed scent of the far north. The view was indeed breathtaking. To the south, the familiar lands of the north stretched out in a tapestry of forests, rivers, and snow-dusted plains. But it was the view to the north that held the most profound impact. A seemingly endless expanse of white and gray stretched out before us, an alien landscape of frozen forests and snow-covered wastes that seemed to swallow the horizon. It was a land of stark beauty and palpable danger, a silent testament to the ancient threats that the wall was built to contain. The sheer scale of it all, the immensity of the wall beneath our feet and the wild unknown stretching out before us, was a humbling and unforgettable sight. Standing atop the wall, with the wind whipping around us and the vast expanse of the north stretching out in either direction, an instinctual urge took hold of me. Closing my eyes for a moment, I focused my thoughts, reaching out through the bond I shared with Silverwing. It was a familiar connection, a silent thread that spanned great distances. I poured my will into the call, a mental beacon drawing him towards my location. The minutes stretched, the only sounds the howling wind and the distant cries of unseen birds. Then, a shadow appeared on the northern horizon, growing larger with impossible speed. The air grew colder, and a powerful gust of wind preceded his arrival. With a thunderous beat of his massive wings, Silverwing descended, landing gracefully on the broad expanse of the wall's summit, his silver scales shimmering in the pale sunlight. His intelligent golden eyes met mine, a silent greeting passing between us. The sheer size of him, even against the backdrop of the colossal wall, was awe-inspiring. The brothers of the Night's Watch, who had accompanied us to the top, stared in stunned silence at the magnificent creature that had just arrived. As Silverwing settled onto the icy surface of the wall, I moved towards his massive flank, preparing to mount him. His scales felt cool beneath my touch. Ryam Redwyn, ever vigilant, stepped forward, his brow furrowed with concern. "Your Grace," he said, his voice tight with apprehension, "are you certain this is wise? The winds up here are treacherous, and the wall offers little footing for even a dragon." I paused, my hand resting on Silverwing's neck, and turned to Ryam, a confident smile gracing my lips. "Sir Ryam," I said, my voice carrying over the howling wind, "as long as my dragon is with me, nothing can happen. He is stronger than any storm and more sure-footed than any mountain. Have faith." With that, I swung myself onto Silverwing's back, settling comfortably against his warm scales. His powerful muscles tensed beneath me, ready for flight. The vast expanse of the north lay before us, waiting to be explored. "Sovs," I commanded Silverwing, the Valyrian word for fly, resonating in the crisp air. With a powerful surge, he launched himself from the summit of the wall, his massive wings beating in a rhythmic cadence that pushed us upwards. The wind roared past us as we ascended, the wall shrinking beneath us, becoming a jagged white line against the vast landscape. A sense of exhilaration filled me as we soared above the icy barrier, the wild lands stretching out before us, an uncharted expanse of snow and shadow. "New of Alone Car," I urged him, my dragon, onward. Beyond the wall. But instead of continuing north, Silverwing banked sharply, his powerful wings carrying us south, away from the wall. He circled for a while above the lands we had just traversed, his golden eyes scanning the forests and plains below, as if drawn by some unseen force. I could feel a subtle resistance in our bond, a reluctance I couldn't quite decipher. After a few wide circles, I gave him the command again, my voice firm. "Airy, rise. Fly beyond the wall, Silverwing." He responded to my urging, his powerful wings propelling us northwards once more. We flew towards the wall, its immense height looming before us again. But as we reached the icy precipice, instead of soaring over it, Silverwing hesitated. He flew alongside the wall for a stretch, a low rumble emanating from his chest, a sound that felt like a deep unease. Then, defying my command once more, he banked sharply again, turning back south, away from the mysteries that lay beyond. His reluctance was palpable, a strong, instinctual resistance that I could not ignore. Frustration began to simmer within me. Twice I had commanded Silverwing to fly beyond the wall, and twice he had refused, his powerful will resisting mine. With a sigh, I relented. "Heater," I commanded, "down." Responding instantly to the Valyrian word for descend, Silverwing folded his massive wings, the air rushing past us as we plummeted towards the ground. With a final, powerful beat of his wings, he slowed our descent, landing with surprising gentleness on the snow-covered ground near the foot of the wall. The sheer immensity of the icy barrier loomed above us, a silent, unyielding sentinel. Silverwing shifted beneath me, a low, almost mournful rumble emanating from his chest. His golden eyes flickered towards the wall, then back to me, a sense of unease radiating through our bond. His disobedience was perplexing, a clear and deliberate refusal that I couldn't yet understand. A few moments of tense silence passed, the only sound the whisper of the wind against the wall's icy face and Silverwing's occasional low growl. Soon, I saw figures approaching across the snow-covered ground. It was Ryam, his face etched with worry, my ladies-in-waiting, Darla and Rosamond, their expressions mirroring his concern, and Arthur Stark with his wife, their northern stoicism momentarily broken by apprehension. Lord Commander Demeric Snow and First Ranger Hawthor Umber followed closely behind, their black cloaks billowing in the wind. Ryam was the first to reach us, his hand instinctively reaching out towards me. Your Grace. What happened? We saw Silverwing descend so suddenly. Are you all right? His eyes then flickered to the massive dragon, a silent question in their depths. Darla and Rosamond hovered nearby, their voices a worried chorus. Are you hurt, Your Grace? Did something frighten Silverwing? Lord Commander Snow, his weathered face creased with concern, echoed Arthur's question. Your Grace, did you encounter something beyond the wall? Some threat that caused your dragon to return? I took a deep breath, trying to make sense of Silverwing's unusual behavior. No, I replied, my voice thoughtful. There was no visible threat. I commanded Silverwing to fly beyond the wall, but he refused. He obeyed my command to take flight, but when I urged him north, he veered south. I tried again from the top, and he flew towards the wall, but then turned back again, refusing to go over. I looked at Silverwing, who was now resting his massive head on the snow, his golden eyes fixed on the wall with an unreadable intensity. He simply would not go beyond it. A flurry of concerned questions and speculative theories followed my explanation. Ryam voiced his relief that we were unharmed, while Darla and Rosamond continued to express their bewilderment at Silverwing's unusual disobedience. Arthur and his wife exchanged thoughtful glances, their northern reserve hinting at a deeper understanding of the ancient boundary before us. Lord Commander Snow and Hawthor Umber listened intently, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and perhaps a touch of unease. They spoke of the wall's ancient magic and the strange occurrences that sometimes transpired near it, though none could offer a definitive explanation for Silverwing's behavior. After a while, the practicalities of the day took precedence. The midday meal, brought from Castle Black by a group of Black brothers, was a simple but sustaining affair eaten in the shadow of the wall. The sheer scale of the icy barrier served as a constant backdrop to our conversation, a silent reminder of the mysteries it held and the questions Silverwing's actions had raised. With the meal concluded and the sun beginning its slow descent in the northern sky, Arthur Stark announced that it was time to begin our return journey to Winterfell. The train that had brought us to the wall would soon be making its southward run. We bid farewell to Lord Commander Snow and First Ranger Umber, expressing our gratitude for their hospitality and the insights they had shared into the life and duty of the Night's Watch. The image of the wall, and the perplexing behavior of my dragon, remained vivid in my mind as we made our way back to the small station, ready to board the train that would carry us south. 7 comments 0 vote. Alysanne 9. 77 AC. Winterfell. 3 days had passed since our return to the familiar stone walls of Winterfell. The journey south on the train had been quieter, each of us lost in our own thoughts about the imposing wall and Silverwing's inexplicable refusal to cross it. The warmth of Winterfell, though welcome, couldn't entirely dispel the chill memory of the icy barrier and the vast, unknown lands that lay beyond. Life within the Stark stronghold had settled back into its usual rhythm. The training yards echoed with the clang of steel, the great hall buzzed with the daily business of running a vast northern territory, and the libraries held their silent vigil of accumulated knowledge. Yet, for me, the experience at the wall lingered, a perplexing enigma that I couldn't quite shake. I found myself often gazing northward from the castle ramparts, imagining that colossal wall of ice and the secrets it guarded. Silverwing, too, seemed more restless than usual, his powerful form often seen circling high above Winterfell, his golden eyes frequently directed towards the distant north. Lord Theon, I began, my gaze thoughtful, what could possibly be the reason for Silverwing's refusal to cross the wall? He has flown to the far corners of the known world without hesitation. Why would this barrier, however immense, deter him? Lord Theon Stark, his face etched with the wisdom and weariness of the north, considered my question for a long moment, the flickering firelight dancing in his gray eyes. Magic, he said finally, his voice low and resonant. The wall is an ancient thing, Your Grace. Built not just of ice, but of spells and powerful enchantments woven into its very fabric by those who came long before us. He continued, his gaze distant, as if looking back through the mists of time. The stories say that the wall was raised to keep something out, something dark and ancient. It is possible that there are still wards and protections woven into it, energies that a creature like your dragon, with his own inherent magic, can sense and perhaps cannot, or will not, cross. Magic, I echoed, the word carrying a weight of mystery and power. While dragons themselves were creatures of legend and perhaps magic, the idea of such potent enchantments still existing in this world was something I had only read about in ancient texts. Lord Theon nodded slowly. The North remembers, Your Grace. And the wall remembers most of all. There are forces at play here that even we do not fully understand. Perhaps Silverwing senses something, an ancient power woven into the ice, that dictates where he can and cannot go. Lord Theon shifted in his seat, the warmth of the hearth doing little to ease the deep concern etched on his face. Speaking of things we do not fully understand, Your Grace, he began, his tone turning grave, there is a matter that casts a long shadow over the north, a burden that has grown heavier with each passing decade. I raised an eyebrow, my attention fully captured. What troubles you so deeply, Lord Theon? The taxes levied upon the northern territories, Your Grace, he explained, his voice carefully measured but laced with a palpable frustration. Over the past 4 decades, we have seen these impositions increase not once, but 5 times. Each increase, while perhaps appearing incremental in isolation, has collectively placed a crushing weight upon the North. And that is without considering the taxes levied upon goods only North can produce. He continued, his gaze meeting mine with a plea for understanding. The North, as you have witnessed firsthand, is a land of vast distances and unforgiving winters. Our harvests are often meager compared to the South, and the cost of transporting goods across our sprawling territories is substantial. These repeated tax hikes have pushed many of the houses struggle to maintain their lands and support their people. A cold knot formed in my stomach. 5-fold increase over 4 decades. That was a significant and potentially devastating burden. 5 times. I echoed, my voice reflecting my surprise and growing concern. I was not made aware of such a drastic cumulative increase. The decrees often came piecemeal, Your Grace, Lord Theon explained, a hint of weariness in his tone. Each time, framed as a temporary measure or a small contribution to the realm's needs. But the temporary has become permanent, and the small contributions have compounded into an unbearable strain. He leaned forward, his gaze earnest. The North has always stood by the Iron Throne, through times of peace and times of war. We have bled for the realm and offered our unwavering loyalty. This ever-increasing tax burden feels like a betrayal of that loyalty, a disregard for the unique hardships we face in this harsh land. What has been the stated reason for these repeated increases? I asked, my mind racing, trying to understand the rationale behind such a potentially damaging policy. Various reasons have been given over the years, Your Grace, Lord Theon replied, a touch of cynicism in his voice. Funding for royal projects, bolstering the defenses of the realm, supporting the costs of war in the south. Each time, the North has shouldered its share, believing in the greater good. But this cumulative burden is now threatening to break the back of our economy and the spirit of our people. The whispers grow louder with each passing winter, Your Grace, he continued, his voice grave. Whispers of discontent, of feeling forgotten and exploited. The loyalty of the North, though deep, is not inexhaustible. I listened intently, the weight of his words pressing down on me. This was far more serious than a simple tax increase. This was a matter of the North's very survival and their relationship with the Iron Throne. Lord Theon, I said, my voice firm, you have my solemn promise. I was unaware of the extent of this injustice. Upon my return to King's Landing, this will be the first issue I raise with the small council. We will examine the records, understand the reasons behind these increases, and I vow to find a solution that rectifies this burden and ensures the prosperity and loyalty of the North. Lord Theon's stern features softened slightly, a flicker of hope in his gray eyes. Thank you, Your Grace. The North has endured much, but your understanding offers a beacon in a long winter. The conversation continued, Lord Theon providing specific examples of the hardships faced by various regions and houses within the North due to the cumulative tax burden, painting a stark picture of the urgent need for redress. The conversation then meandered to other topics of mutual interest. Lord Theon inquired about the health of my family in King's Landing, and I, in turn, asked about the well-being of his younger children. We discussed the changing seasons and the preparations being made for the coming winter in the North, a topic always at the forefront of Northern minds. He shared some local news and spoke of recent developments in the surrounding territories, while I offered a brief overview of the current political climate in the capital. The atmosphere remained cordial and respectful, a sense of newfound understanding having blossomed between us during my visit. The initial formality had eased, replaced by a more comfortable and open exchange. We spoke of shared histories and the potential for future cooperation between the North and the South, finding common ground in our hopes for a stable and prosperous realm. As the afternoon wore on, the demands of our respective duties began to beckon. Lord Theon mentioned the need to attend to matters of his lordship, and I, too, felt the pull of reflection and the preparations I needed to make before my departure. With mutual nods of understanding and polite farewells, we concluded our conversation, each of us retreating to attend to the tasks that awaited us within the vast and bustling stronghold of Winterfell. The shared moments by the hearth had further solidified the bonds forged during this northern sojourn. 4 days passed swiftly, filled with final farewells and the meticulous packing of our belongings. The sturdy northern trunks, now holding not only our own possessions but also the valuable gifts and insights gained during our stay, were secured and ready for transport. The atmosphere within our chambers was a blend of anticipation for the journey ahead and a touch of wistfulness at leaving the unique character of the North behind. Our farewells to the Stark family had been heartfelt, a genuine connection forged through shared experiences and mutual respect. Theon Stark had reiterated his hopes for a swift resolution to the tax issue, and I had reaffirmed my commitment to addressing it upon my return. Now, with everything prepared, we awaited the signal for our departure from Winterfell. The train, our mode of transport southward, was scheduled to depart from Wintertown in the early morning hours. As the first light of the fourth day touched the northern sky, we commenced our journey southward. The carriages, carrying our retinue and belongings, made their way towards the Wintertown railway station. The familiar rhythm of the northern rail system soon enveloped us as the train began its long trek south. The landscape outside the windows gradually shifted, the stark beauty of the far north slowly giving way to the more familiar sights of forests and rolling hills. After a day and a half of steady travel, the train pulled into the small station near Moat Cailin. The ancient ruins, a formidable marker of the north's southern border, loomed in the distance, a silent testament to centuries of history and defense. We disembarked, the air feeling noticeably milder than in Winterfell. Arrangements had been made for our overnight stay within the somewhat restored sections of Moat Cailin, offering a strategic and historically significant resting point. The following morning, with the first rays of dawn, our party mounted horses and carriages once more. The railway journey had concluded, and the King's Road stretched before us, the well-trodden path leading directly south towards King's Landing. The change in pace was palpable, the rhythm of hooves and carriage wheels replacing the steady chugging of the train. With a northern escort riding alongside us, we began the final leg of our journey, the miles to the capital slowly beginning to diminish with each passing day. The experiences of the North, the imposing wall, the innovative college, and the earnest concerns of its people, traveled with us, shaping my thoughts and informing the decisions that awaited me in King's Landing. The journey south along the King's Road unfolded at a more measured pace than our swift train travel through the north. The days were long, filled with the steady rhythm of horses' hooves and the creaking of carriage wheels. We passed through small villages and bustling market towns, the landscape gradually transforming from the rugged terrain of the north to the more verdant fields and forests of the riverlands and the crownlands. The weather grew warmer with each passing day, the crisp northern air replaced by a more humid climate. It was a month and a half after our departure from Winterfell that the familiar, overwhelming aroma of King's Landing finally assaulted my senses. The pungent mix of unwashed bodies, overflowing refuse, and stagnant waterways, a stark contrast to the clean, crisp air of the north, hung heavy in the air as we approached the city gates. Despite the years I had spent within its walls, the unique and unpleasant olfactory signature of the capital never failed to make its presence known. The sights, too, were a familiar assault, the teeming crowds, the narrow, winding streets, and the ever-present bustle of a city far larger and more chaotic than Winterfell. We had returned to the heart of the Seven Kingdoms, and with it, the myriad of duties and intrigues that awaited.